Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 4, Episode 23. I'm your host, Alejandro, and like I promised last week, I am joined by returning special guest, Game Positive YouTube, aka my friend Eric Bezanson.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm glad to be back, and we've got a lot to talk about today, especially the much anticipated, I'm assuming, results of our prediction trivia.
Yes, and this being kind of like, and this being part two of our little crossover with that. As you have you fully returned now to podcasting as of last week, or was that kind of like your first test at trying to like get back into like a weekly or maybe bi-weekly thing?
Yeah, well, I haven't. It hasn't been a week yet, so I haven't got to post again. I do have some new videos I put up recently, but yeah, I think I'm back, man. I think I'm back. I was looking through my YouTube channel after I had uploaded that and kind of looking at some of the stuff I had done, and I haven't uploaded anything for probably like a year or so, anything of consequence. The last major thing I did was the Game Pass Awards, which was a thing that I made. I think it was for 2022, so it would have went up like January 2023. And I was rewatching that actually, and I was getting in my feels a little bit because so many people in the community, a lot of people you would recognize, helped me out with that and like volunteered to guest on it and actually like record stuff for it and like do some serious work for it. And I'm a channel with like 100 something subscribers. Like really, there's zero benefit. Every single person that helped me out, and a lot of these people like have pretty big followings. It benefited them in no way, and it just, I don't know, I got my feels a little bit today looking through that stuff and realizing how awesome the community is and how they're willing to help me. And I don't know, I feel inspired to keep going for sure.
There's always like a good feeling of retaking something that you had dropped for a little bit. Like this podcast was that. I started this podcast like January 2020 with my buddy Paul, and we didn't have cameras. It was like our first foray. Then the pandemic happened, and then we kind of like took a break after like 13 episodes because we kind of like lost our flow while we were like in lockdown and trying to figure stuff out. That then like a year after we were chatting so much like in our DMs about like stuff that was happening in game, kind of like what we do in a season gaming chat. Like I do that with him and my other bud Zach, that eventually reached a boiling point. They were like, should we go back? Like, could we potentially go back? And around that time, that's when I finally got my camera, and I was like, yeah, we think we're back, and we did it. And we're 153 episodes now.
Yeah, I was gonna say 100. My episode count is a little over the place because I've been a little over the place. I think I'm close to 50 maybe or 40. I'm not sure, but no, I definitely am feeling inspired to keep going. I'm kind of thinking about maybe doing another. I know I missed last year, but maybe another Game Pass Awards. I don't know. It was really fun. It was really fun to make that video. Definitely some improvements I could make.
I feel with everything that has been recently announced, which we're definitely gonna talk about. I feel like another of those kind of videos would be like fun to do with like the breadth of content that's like on the way. Like I feel this is the perfect time for it.
It's like one thing that one thing that I did with the Game Awards or Game Pass Awards is I actually like made a document that showed every single game that came to Game Pass that year and their Metacritic rating. And I sent that document out to people who were going to vote on the panel. And when you actually like, you see the tweets every like bi-monthly or a couple times a month, whatever it is, X of games are coming, and like you see them in chunks of like 3, 4, 5 games or whatever. But when you see the full year in a document like that, it is pretty, there's a lot that comes, and there's a lot of quality too. I think the average Metacritic was green for that year. And then spoilers, the winner was Plague Tale Requiem.
There's
a lot of categories, but that was Game Pass Game of the Year.
Yes. And that was I think it was an 82 or 83 meta anyway, so that's still like, compared to like everything else that had been like served, makes sense. So
it's funny too, thinking back, because that's the bad Xbox year, right? That's the year where there was nothing from. So
first party
year to do that.
The worst first party year for them, but they still tried as hard as they could to at least give something for the people that were in that ecosystem. So there's like that's kind of like the difference. Like when you're from the outside, it looks super dire, but then when you're like inside the ecosystem, like if you're not closed-minded and you're open-minded, especially with a service that your enjoyment of that may require some open-mindedness because they're giving you those kinds of games. So at least you have zero barrier of entry to at least try something that you may end up liking. That was kind of like how they kind of survived that year. But I was also talking with another buddy of mine called Sebastian that he also gets in the show. Post showcase, which we're gonna talk about. I feel this is it feels like Xbox finally has the momentum that they should have had after we were done with 2021 when they won Metacritic Publisher of the Year. Like, the vibes that I'm seeing online feels like, oh yeah, these were the lost 3 years, weren't they? Because look at these vibes. It's like this is like for a publisher that won ostensibly. And I know you were making the joke that so many Xbox warriors were like waving the Publisher of the Year like flag for like an entire year during those dark times until then Sony won the immediate year. It was like it's like now it feels like they're finally back in fighting shape. But I definitely can't wait to talk about that when we talk about showcases. But yeah, this is just a reminder that this is the X Bottom Podcast, or gaming podcast that posts every Thursdays from 10 a.m. onwards, God willing. Available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, before we go into showcase stuff, Eric, like I initially planned this to just be like a showcase talk, but we have to talk about the final shape. It came out last week. We're a full week in. We both finished the campaign. We've seen parts of the raid. We played the final mission. I have played some of the things that were added today, but overall, like, Eric, what's your vibe? How you feeling?
Okay, so I mean, obviously these opinions are subject to change without notice. I'm still riding the hype train. Right now, I think this is the greatest campaign that Bungie's ever made, and I say that as someone whose favorite franchise is Halo. And obviously there's more to Halo than campaign, and there's more Halo campaigns than Bungie made, but I think that is the best kind of a statement of praise that I can give it. I won't get into the nitty gritty just yet because I'll let you give your general thoughts, but yeah, I played it on solo legendary, which I think is probably the best way to experience it. I guess depending on your tolerance, because it does get pretty difficult. But I think being able to overcome those bosses, even though they're like, I would say almost everyone, there was a point where I was debating like phoning a friend, but I didn't do it. And every time you beat one of them, it's just such a great feeling. Everything, the story, the moments, the boss fights really is what kind of puts us over the edge from a gameplay perspective. But yeah, I just loved it. And I haven't got to raid yet, which I think will be the cherry on top.
Oh yes, especially with all the impressions that people have gotten out of that raid, which for people that don't know, that their raid raids took 19 hours for the first person to beat it. And then even like some of like the more notable content creators, like Destiny 2 content creator Astacross, he streamed 34 hours straight to beat that thing, like straight, like no stop. I don't know why he didn't stop, but the commitment some of these like hardcore like players were trying to do to get the contest mode, aka hard mode, like day one raid for ostensibly the hardest raid that apparently Bungie has ever made, was like pretty impressive. Like the commitment that there are not many people in the high end level that just wanted to outright quit. Obviously there were a few that took a break because obviously the contest mode was like 48 hours, so some went to take some naps and came back and then succeeded. But that was such a cool moment, and I feel like WoW did something similar to like the Gates of Something a lot of years ago. Do you remember
an
event? Yeah. That
they have had raid races for a while. There's some of the early expansions. I'm gonna get it wrong, but there's some early expansions where, like, I'm talking like early, or I guess mid to late 2000s, where the tuning was just like not right, and they literally like they had to nerf the raid so someone could possibly beat it. That's more of a development flaw than like actually being like a well-tuned challenge. But recently they've been like, as in like at the last decade, they've been really well tuned, and the races have been really fun. The last one, I believe, from I think it would have been from Dragonflight. I can't remember the name of the raid off the top of my head, but that one took quite a while, I think. I don't know if it was 19 hours, but it was definitely in the double digits.
Yeah. I know that WoW one time, like, they did the one thing that I think someone beat a raid and then it opened some gates, something like the Gates of Azeroth or something like that, that Luke Smith, who became like franchise coordinator of Destiny, he was like at the Gates of Azeroth when that thing opened, when someone completed like a raid.
So
something like that, I think. Yeah.
I won't go into the full story, but it wasn't necessarily a raid. There was like a server wide event. So in WoW, there's you choose a server to play on. There's multiple servers, and your server is kind of like the world that you live in. And every server had to do this themselves, and it was called the Gates of Encourage. And there's basically this endgame desert zone, and they had this quest chain called the War Effort. And both factions, for people who don't know, WoW, you choose Alliance or Horde, and you hate each other, and you kind of play against each other, sort of. But there was this quest chain called the War Effort where you had to go around the world and do all kinds of stuff. So to put it in Destiny terms, it's like everybody go to the moon and collect like spin metal or bright dust or whatever.
And they've done that.
Yeah, but this is at a server wide scale, so it took weeks and weeks to do this, and a lot of the resources you had to fight over with the other. Anyways, the first guild to finish the quest, which takes like a lot of work, like weeks and weeks to do, you get the quest reward is this like mallet that you can use to ring the gong in which opens the Gates of Encourage, which opens the raid to everybody. But what they didn't anticipate is that when that ceremony was going to happen and a player like got to the top of the mountain, got the mallet, and was going to ring the gong, every character in the game was going to be at the same place at the same time, which completely destroyed every server that it happened on. And so they've never done anything like that since, because literally no one could play or ring the gong because it just, the server could not, the game's not built to have like 10,000 people in one spot at the same time. Like, this is before layering and sharding. So anyway, that's probably what he's referring to, but it was an iconic moment, and they did it again in Classic. And I would highly recommend checking out the YouTuber Barney64. She does like this series where she goes through that process again in Classic, but she kind of does it like in an RP kind of story format way, and it's extremely funny. And she's an amazing creator that I 100% recommend, even if you don't like WoW, the stuff that she makes, because it's just so entertaining. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, so in a way, like here is some of that kind of like gives me an idea of like what Bungie like kind of got to, like with how they like structured the final shape, where you have your 7-mission campaign initial 3-day prep time, like as everyone gathers their forces to go attack the Witness at the raid, and then like the team that beats him for the first time, like it's canonized within like the own story, where a fire team broke the hold of the Witness, and now
should we mention? Sorry to interrupt, but should we mention that this will have spoilers?
Oh yes, we said yes. It's now full on spoilers. It's
yeah.
So it's like having like canonized immediately when like the raid was beaten, that a fire team was the thing that broke through, and now everything that was part of the Destiny universe, from the vanilla launch in 2014 to the Dark Below, like the worst of expansions, to like the very best one, everything kind of came together in like kind of like that final cutscene that, I kid you not, I was like, do you remember watching Endgame? Like on the
yeah, that was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, it was like, I cannot believe that I'm getting the Avengers Endgame experience of watching the on your left like gathering of everyone that kind of like represents a 10-year journey, like all put together at once, and that Destiny was able to nail it, despite the fact that Destiny as a franchise has been so up and down. It's like so many years were like, this is the best thing ever. Other years it's like, this is like the worst thing ever. I don't understand, like how can this keep going, as like a Bungie like keeps screwing up. Oh, they got it again. It's like, it's so over, we're so back franchise that I can think of like over the last 10 years, that in that single moment and in that amazing like final mission that unlocked, where you and 11 other players that get to matchmade in this like absolute madhouse chaos of a final mission, where you're fighting alongside the NPCs that you have like either fought or have befriended for the entire time, to then culminate in like an absolutely amazingly visual of the final boss fight against the Witness, as this towering thing, and everyone like in the field like aiding each other, like the NPCs NPCs throwing you like, here's a heavy grenade, here's your scorch cannon, here's like all the things that if you played through the entire time, is like all those terminologies coming like together.
Yeah. When Shax was like, that's when it really hit me, was when they're like, Shax is sending in scorch cannons. I was like, holy shit, everyone's here. Everything's coming together. Yeah, dude. One anecdote that I'll mention right quick that I think is kind of funny is you and Steve, I think, were talking about this in the chat, but you're using like spoiler tags.
Yes.
But when you started talking with spoiler tags, I didn't know like what it was about, because you didn't say like Destiny 2 spoilers. So I was like, I'll just click on one and see what they're talking about. I click on Steve, and he said like it like legit made me cry or something like that.
Yeah. I was literally.
So that's all I read. So I was like, oh fuck, I just spoiled that like someone's dying, and I'm like, it's probably Zavala. I was like, Zavala's totally dying. And then of course at the last campaign mission, when you're running out, like Zavala trips, and I'm like, oh god, I knew this was gonna happen. He's dead. But it wasn't that. I realized it was happy tears of like amazing excitement, and I was like, okay,
it was the happy tears of hype, because it's like it was me finally realizing, oh my god, they did it. They landed the plane. A year ago, after I finished the Lightfall campaign, where we had to be submitted to a cheesy 80s montage like near the end of that campaign, which was basically just like a new super tutorial at like the absolute worst possible time for the story to pump the brakes and become nonsense. I was like, there is no way they're able to nail this, like when they screwed up at the penultimate chapter, and with all the bad buys with Bungie, with the Sony acquisition kind of like putting extra pressure, like them missing 45% of their revenue like goals, the layoffs, them like letting go of Michael Salvatore, the delay of the final shape. It was like the worst possible buys that you can have gotten. Like just imagine if Avengers Infinity War had like screwed up like the year before heading into Endgame. It's like the complete opposite, because Infinity War nailed it. It was like they nailed it so well, and then it's like you had confidence of that they could like land the ship, and there was no, that confidence wasn't there here, but they somehow did it. They like somehow did it.
I have a sneaky suspicion that Lightfall was supposed to be this.
Yeah, no, it was. It absolutely was.
And that this is like what Lightfall became was just like a way to give more time to make sure that this is what happened. And so I just a quick side note. I love Michael Salvatore. I think him and Marty O'Donnell's music is probably my favorite music in gaming history. I listen to it all the time. But I will say that even though he's not here, and he could have easily have made all this music. I don't know.
No, he did.
But the music in the Final Shape is incredible.
Yeah, Michael Salvatore completed the Final Shape soundtrack before leaving. When he was let go, it was said that I think it was because it was a couple composers that left. A few laid off, and another just walked out the door after like some of those got laid off. That they had mentioned that work on the Final Shape was done, like when that had happened. So, and you can tell it's like it has like I've always said that Michael Salvatore in particular has given Destiny its soul. Like everything, like you can hear a lot of that music in so many places, even at the times where the game was crap. The music in Lightfall was still pretty good. Like there's just something about like. I usually tune in a lot into like the power of music. I actually did in my media analysis class and back in college. Like my final project was kind of like the power of music for tone and emotion, and putting like different examples of that. And so I always had kind of like an ear for that. And the music for this thing was just pitch perfect. It made it extra emotional knowing that he was no longer there. But what a send off for this being like his final Destiny thing, despite the fact that Destiny's still going. It's still gonna keep going with like what was announced, was it yesterday? Yeah, like in the 5-minute viaduct of what we're getting for episodes, where it's like seasonal content, like wilder and more refreshed. A tease that year 11 is coming, and a year ago I
don't know what that's gonna be. Year 11 is coming, but I don't like. I'm so curious if that's gonna be more episodes or an expand. Like they don't. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Yeah, it's like they can. My hope would be. Do you see Luke Smith's tweet right before the Final Shape the Final Shape launched? No. Where he like capitalized the word hope 3 times. And and Luke Smith being usually the cheekiest person that you can imagine, kind of like always teasing stuff. When Luke Smith was at that showcase where basically everyone got hyped for the Final Shape again, like back in April, when he had mentioned about Destiny 2 and beyond, that has been, and then basically breaking everything open with the Prismatic class, which is pretty awesome. The new subclass that they gave us for for this expansion. That basically is like you can literally break the game in interesting ways if you like find cool, exotic and ability combination. I have one that's like super sick. Everyone's been like, the only reason why they're allowing you to break the game wide open on sunsetting a bunch of the weapons that got sunset is that they already see at a point where they don't need to keep the health of the game going that much longer, because they're probably gonna move on to something else, whether it's like in a year or 2 times. And I wouldn't mind. We have to see how the episodes go, at least for the next year, to see if like maybe can they do another year of just pure episodes instead of like an expansion. Because if they can be allowed to cook longer, I think that's kind of what they need, like what they need. Why the Witch Queen and now Final Shape like churn out as great as they did? These were the expansions that got more than a year of development. These were the delayed expansions. Lightfall didn't get delayed, and look how that turned out. So
yeah. Without getting too much into the talk about the future of Destiny, I am of the opinion that I think the best thing to do would be like a Destiny 3. Like I would say obviously finish this year out. I would be cool with lighter years where it's only episodes in Destiny 2 if it's a means to the end of a Destiny 3 for a couple reasons. One, I think it's the only way you're going to bring people back that haven't come back for this.
Yeah.
If they're not coming back for this, they're only coming back for Destiny 3. And I think there's a lot of people that would. 2, we just basically killed the biggest threat in the universe. There's nothing that can compete with the Witness. So it's kind of the MCU effect. Like Thanos is defeated. Like Marvel has some things they could bring up, but they haven't yet. And I think that's kind of why they've been struggling a little bit.
Yes.
And yeah, I think they could solve that if they started a brand new game, Destiny 3. Don't carry your character over. Make it set like either way in the past or way in the future, and start a new character, have completely new NPCs. You can keep some bylines like the Traveler and Glimmer and whatever, but make it new and start over. And I would be cool with that. I don't think they'll ever do that because like if like everybody's been saying World of Warcraft should do that, and they haven't. I also, side note, I would also accept a Destiny 1 Classic edition.
Yes.
They bring it back at 4K 60 and I start over. I would 100% accept that as well. I would buy that day one.
Yeah, I'll take a Classic because I want my my Wrath of the Machine raid back. I love Wrath of the Machine so damn much in Rise of Iron. And the fact that it's the one raid that's missing now from like from those old ones, and there is no indication that they may bring it this year. I'm crossing fingers that they just have kept quiet and eventually they just kind of like drop it there. Obviously, they worked extra hard on making this year's raid like a banger, because the raid from last year, the one that we took you through when you joined the clan, the Root of Nightmares, was super easy, and a lot of people did not like how dungeon-like it was, especially for like a raid experience. It was too simplified, and that raid was the one that opened more the eyes of the fact that the Lightfall we got was not the Lightfall that was originally teased back in 2020 when Luke Smith like revealed like Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and Lightfall at the same time. And you can even see like the art of Lightfall that they showed is the exact same art for the Final Shape. So we know Final Shape was that original version of Lightfall. They just gave it a new name, and because they kept the trademark for Lightfall, they did something different. That's kind of like that's kind of how I saw it. So
and I think from that stuff was probably intended to be. Here, maybe Nezarek was supposed to be a boss in this, like some, you know what I mean? I think there was some stuff that got shifted around. I would definitely like to see Wrath of Machines come back. I think it will come back. I also would like to see Spire of Stars and Eater of Worlds. I think those are awesome. Even if we brought those back as dungeons, I think that would be awesome. Oh yeah. I don't know how that would work with 3 people though, but what I want though really is I want to get to level 20 and buy a shadow price from the Vanguard vendor, head to Mars and grind materials to level it up, and walk into the Vault of Glass with a shadow price and like a plug 1 or something like that, and like, you know, like
the plug 1, damn. Yeah, there's so much gold in Destiny 1 that still like it remains to be mined, and
head to the loot cave, you know. Bump Atheon off the spawn.
God, bump Atheon, or like unplug your Ethernet from your console at a specific moment glitch the buzz. It's the wild things we did in those first years for Destiny is wild, but
yeah,
it's like
change the game.
Oh yeah, it's like the fact that like to me it's so wild. Like putting into perspective, they really got to the 10 years. This was originally like announced as like this is gonna be Bungie's next 10-year like project back then, and at vanilla launch, a lot of people were like, "This thing's not gonna last." This is like how they started, and then obviously Taken King was like the moment where everyone decided, "Oh yeah, no, this is absolutely gonna last. This is going."
See, I would push back on the like. I hear people say that all the time that it launched and it wasn't in good shape, and I think a lot of people point at the reviews for that because I think it got like 6s and 7s. Here's the thing: rushed through the campaign and slapped a score on it. They didn't raid, and that is the glue that made it so successful, and they've been expanding on that ever since. And that's the kind of stuff that wasn't mentioned in any review, because I remember being so hyped that I didn't even read the reviews until like
there were none at launch.
Later, and when I did, I was like, did these people even like play the same game as me? Because like a lot of the stuff they're saying, okay, yeah, sure, the story is not great. I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to explain is pretty bad. Yeah, but like outside of that, like the game was so fun. Like literally, it deleted all other games for me. It was like my dashboard for my Xbox was Destiny. And so yeah, I think that it was a hit from day one, and I think it's had definitely some peaks and valleys. The first one I think was Trials or Curse of Osiris, and I think it's kind of been limping along up and down, peaks and valleys since then, and right now we're at like probably the highest peak.
Yeah, Dark Below was probably the first like real stumble, because it was like the first official expansion, and like what it added was like very little unless you were raiding. Like raids were like for the people that were raiding, getting another one was like, this is enough. For the people that were not raiding, they was like, oof, just like 2 missions and a strike for $20. Oh no.
PvP map, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, and if exotics, that's where when Force Horsemen it kind of came in, if I remember, but that was just on PlayStation originally, because that was that era where it's like they were like ponying up for all these exotics that you didn't get to see. You didn't get to try the Hawkmoon. Year 1 Hawkmoon until it got nerfed.
That was a huge mistake. And you probably, I'm guessing you're on PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you never got to buy Hawkmoon from Xur, and you never got to play those new strikes or exclusive strikes in Nightfall. You never got to do that.
Nope.
And so you never got a good opportunity to buy the gun. A lot of people probably didn't get it, and you never got to play the exclusive strike in the best way you could play it. Yeah. So you got robbed. You got robbed too. That was a horrible.
That's what people didn't realize, how much like that exclusivity game that they were playing, that it was pretty fairly brutal, I would say, kind of like that. The approach it did, because there's 30-day early map packs, and then there's like locking content for like an entire year, and then like in the second year where they locked out that content out for 2 years from the other consoles, and then only made it available at the time the sequel came out, and no one cared about the original game anymore. So,
but on the flip side, when they did make it available, it was new inventory for Xur for us.
Yes.
And new Nightfalls for us. And for you, it was like, so we still got like, I don't know. I think I think the only people that won in that deal was Activision, because they got a bunch of money from Sony.
Oh yeah,
I think the game hurt, and I think Sony hurt because they didn't gain much from it. I don't think.
Yeah, other than just a PR, the perpetual PR of that era of them, like everyone wanting to side with them because they were winning. But I'm glad that we're past that exclusivity window, even as they've been like acquired. That was like the stipulation Bungie put, is like, if you're gonna acquire us, like we're still gonna put our stuff everywhere. And then Bungie was like, yeah, sure, whatever. We just need your expertise, so keep doing whatever you want, as long as you keep making the money. But just thinking about that and where we are now, like with the final ship, has just been so it's been very emotional, because I have some, like, just think of it, your daughters were probably not even born back then, like around that time, and now you're like a dad with 2. So
I didn't even, when the first game came out, like I didn't even have a house. I was in an apartment. I didn't work at my current job. I wasn't a software developer. I was working at a job I hated. I will say that Destiny 1 was the last midnight release I ever went to, not because I wouldn't want to go to another one, but that was the last one that they've had like in my area. It's
funny that I had already started going digital that time, but I had friends that wanted to go pick the game at midnight, and I went with them because I already had it pre-installed in my console. But I was like, yeah, I'll go with you, and we're all gonna like jump in together, because Destiny, to me, like what's so special is I have told you my story that the multiplayer at the 360 and PS3 era kind of passed me by, because that was like my 360 red ringed. Was I switched to PS3. PS3 was not a great place to play online games other than Call of Duty. Like at its obviously way worse than on 360, but it was playable. But it wasn't like let's party up, let's like do all this stuff. And then my friends all were on FIFA, so it's like that completely like missing. But going to college and having people that loved Halo getting something with Destiny, especially everyone that switched from 360 to PS4, the console I had at the time, and then it was like, it's the new Bungie game, like let's all play multiplayer. That was like such a revelatory experience for me, because it was like I finally got something that I couldn't in the generation before. And that's why like Destiny is like so special to me, because I'm usually a single player guy, but Destiny is my exception. It's like I'm literally the head of our clan, the one that I invited you. Like I manage it with Vance. So nice. I never would have expected that like in a million years. It's to cultivate that kind of community. I just never thought it that way. Not when FIFA was the only thing that people played around here. So that's why I'm glad that my journey with Destiny feels like it's been rewarded, even when it didn't seem like it was gonna be rewarding in the end. And I'm just so pumped, and I can't wait for us eventually to reconvene with our buddy Steve, who, for listeners, Eric and Steve were like in the show like at the beginning of the year when we were talking about the Xbox layoffs, and we talked about like potentially just talking about all things Destiny like soon. So look forward to that. But anything else you've been playing, or should we move to the showcase?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just mention it really quick. We don't have to get into discussion. I've been obviously playing Destiny. Mm-hmm. A group of friends from my office actually started playing Dota 2 again. Mm-hmm. That's a game I have like 3,000 or 4,000 hours in. It was all I played for a few years, and so I'm happy to be playing that a little bit. Although my skills have definitely deteriorated, so I have to kind of earn that back a little bit. Mm-hmm. Other than that, yeah, it's mostly just been those two. I have dabbled into Starfield a little bit.
With the creation tools?
Yeah, I just got the creation tools working, and there's kind of a quirk to get it to work if you have a Game Pass copy of Starfield on PC, and then you download the creation kit through Steam. It doesn't just work, but conveniently, I figured out how to do that, and I actually recorded a guide on how to fix that. I uploaded that today on my YouTube channel.
And it's on Twitter.
If you're having issues. Yeah, I posted it on Twitter too. It's very easy to get running. It's not complicated. You don't have to be tech savvy at all. Although you probably have to be tech savvy to use creation tools. It's not like it's not like Dreams or Minecraft. It's pretty intense. But yeah, I want to finish the campaign before Shattered Space. So I'm starting to dabble in that again. And maybe I could be convinced to dabble in creation tools. Game development's been a long dream I've held, and I think that's a kind of a lot of people have gotten into the industry through modding and stuff like that. So
Todd Howard said it himself. So
well, have you played Forgotten City?
The Forgotten that's the Skyrim like a game from the Roman Empire that's like time travel, right?
It's like it's infinite time loop game.
Yeah.
You've heard of the game, right? Like the Roman Empire. Yeah. So that before it was that game, it was a Skyrim mod that a guy made himself that became so big that he was able to fund the port of it into like its own game. He even won a Writers Guild award for his Skyrim mod, the Forgotten City, which you can actually, if you have the anniversary edition of Skyrim, which I think is in PS Plus, it's in Game Pass.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, you can actually get that mod as part of that anniversary pack and play the original Forgotten City that way. Which is awesome.
That's so cool.
And, stuff like that's very motivating, I think, for someone like me who like, because this guy wasn't a developer. It's not like he worked at a game studio and did this on the side. He was a lawyer, I think. You're just like video games. And now he is a game developer, because of Skyrim mod tools. So, yeah, stuff like that's really cool, and I might dabble.
Yeah, and I can't wait for because I think I could download the Star Wars mods that are in creation tool. I can download them and put them on my Xbox. I would love to like play as Boba Fett.
Because I saw the Batman mod today.
Oh, they already put it. Man, it's like I love creation tool because of that. It's like it's like Forge or in Halo. It's like now you have like a tool that's just gonna give you infinite content on top of like what Bethesda throws at you, either officially or non-officially. So
yeah,
and me, I'm literally, after we're done recording right now, I'm gonna platinum Final Fantasy 16 finally. I just need to beat the final boss now. I beat the boss. The DLC bosses on the Final Fantasy difficulty, those are tough. It sucks that they're like locked so far into like a playthrough of having to play that game twice, to experience something that can make you sweaty in that game is like that's still always gonna be like one of that game's weaknesses. But for people that like that challenge, eventually you can get there, and then even dial up the difficulty harder in the arcade mode. So I'm glad I'm getting close to the anniversary of that game to have the platinum. So I've been like wanting to just empty it from my hard drive space with everything that's coming out soon, but I needed to get the seal of approval of like getting a platinum for a game that I really like. So that's gonna be happening too, and then nothing else. It's just Destiny. Like it's always like I think I mentioned it in your show that it's always dangerous for me for Destiny to be good, because then when Destiny's good, everything else suffers. So
did you finish Paper Mario?
Nope. I got derailed. I got derailed. I got completely derailed. So I think I'm still in chapter 5 out of 8. So I'm like, I need to get that. I think what I'm gonna do is now there's a lot of TV that's coming out. I love multitasking when watching TV. I'm gonna have it in handheld mode and have the TV playing like in the background to get down with it.
It's this week, right? The new season of The Boys is this week, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. House of the Dragons coming soon also. So.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Acolyte like launched an episode already today, so we're recording.
Yeah, I heard Hogue say something about that being not too bad.
Yeah, it's like has its writing problems and style problems and production value problems, but it feels fresh for Star Wars, so that's like a win. Cool. So, and Hogue is so anti-Star, like he has like anti-Star Wars still, unless something really impresses him, aka Andor. So you pay attention to those kind of people when they say something good, because then that's when you know it's actually really good. So, but enough of what we've been playing, Eric, because this is, as I said, this is showcase season, and when I guessed it over your show, we were like, gave our hopes and dreams for what we're expecting to see from the showcase, specifically Summer Gamefest and the Xbox Showcase, which were ostensibly like the big things out of like many different things that happened like over the weekend. Like there was a Future Games Showcase, there was the LATAM Games Showcase, there was like always all this different like permutation of showcase, but we were talking about like the big ones. And before we go over like how we did on predictions, we're gonna go over some of the things that were announced both at Summer Game Fest and Xbox, and briefly the thing that happened at Ubisoft yesterday. Before I read that, your quick thoughts on Summer Game Fest?
Quick thoughts would be that one team showed up to play and the other ones did not. Yeah. And so it'd be very easy to guess which teams did not show up, because we probably won't be talking about them for very long. Although I do want to quickly mention that showcases like the Devolver Digital one or like Day of the Devs, like those showcases have like different expectations. They are trying to do something different, especially Day of the Devs, which I think is one of my favorites. Devolver is also like really, really
yes, because they're always fun to watch.
Yeah, and all of those were awesome, and I would recommend watching them. But they just get judged differently because they have different goals. But they are still excellent, and I really, really liked Day of the Devs, and I really, really liked Devolver. It's Volvy's birthday, everybody, so it's worth watching just to celebrate with him. And one of the games they showed, they didn't show a ton, but one of the games they showed, which I can't pronounce, but it looks awesome.
I'm definitely gonna go check it. That was one that I skimmed over. I was busy doing other stuff, but I definitely dedicated time to Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Showcase. I recorded our reacts that I still need to post, so I just need to edit. I know you posted your reactions for the Xbox thing, right?
Yeah, so I recorded. I tried to stream it, but so full disclosure, I was playing Destiny. I did play it too much.
Yeah.
I was trying to beat the ogre boss right before the witness, and like my last attempt when I beat him, it was like 5 minutes until the showcase started. So I was just like rushing to get my stream set up, and I had been recording all of the campaign at like a really high quality. And so OBS was then trying to stream at that same quality, which was like bricking my computer. And because I had no time to figure it out, I just bailed on the stream and just recorded it, my impressions, and then re-uploaded it. The game from Devolver, I just looked it up. It's called Tenjutsu.
Okay, Tenjutsu. Yeah, that's the one I saw then. Yeah.
Yeah, and that looks really, really cool. But yeah, so there is a recording up. There was a really funny moment that we'll talk about that I clipped as well and put on the channel. But yeah, it's just pretty standard. And
Tenjutsu is from the developers of Dead Cells. So if you like Dead Cells, keep an eye on that one. Stylized kind of like martial arts roguelike game.
Yeah, it's like an 80s action movie roguelite with like a really cool anime female protagonist that looks like character from like reminds me of the lead from like Ghost in the Shell. Like it's checking all kinds of awesome boxes.
Yes.
And I definitely would recommend checking that one out.
So now I'm gonna try to quickly read through everything that was announced at Summer Games, and then we can talk about the things that stood out, because if we go game by game, we're gonna be here for hours. So obviously Summer Games has started with the Lego Horizon game from Studio Globo that we have been hearing leaks perpetually, like forever. It's coming out this holiday in 2024 for PS5, Steam, EGS, and Switch. That was interesting, especially for the system that's not showing. It's not releasing on. Couldn't be more petty if they couldn't be more obviously petty if they wanted. There was this zombie shooter called No More Room in Hell 2, which is 8-player co-op and has permadeath. We also got the Harry Potter Quidditch Champions game that had leaked a few months ago, and kind of like everyone like assumed this was the reason why Quidditch was not in Hogwarts Legacy. That's out on September 3rd. There was this like really cute, I think it was a BR game, I could be wrong, but it's like first-person bear game called Cuff Bust that you could like wishlist over on Steam. That was like the first game that I was like, okay, interesting. I will
say though, the guy that. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, go for it.
The game that this guy that he made before Cuff Bust, the train one, Choo Choo Charles.
Oh, he's really, the Choo Choo Charles guy. Oh, okay. Now I'm more interested.
Yeah. So I still think this trailer is a bit weird, but Choo Choo Charles, both of them are solo games that like one guy made, and he has some really cool interviews you can find. But the Choo Choo Charles was really good. So I mean, he has a pedigree, and I think that's why this, as weird as it looks, I think that's why he ended up here. I think he deserves to be on this stage.
And Keeley made a point of, because he had already quote unquote sandbagged his showcase before, be like, yeah, lowered the expectations, and he's kicked off the show being like, yes, like layoffs have been happening, but look at the indie scene. Look what are some of the bigger games that are happening this year. Like games are made by one person. So it makes sense what Cuff Buzz was here, especially now more with the context of like Choo Choo Charles. So then after Cuff Buzz, we got a brief new look at Star Wars Outlaws. This was the tune in on Monday for like a full gameplay thing that I think I got, but we're gonna talk about our bets later. Then we got a new look at Neva, which was this is the next game from the creators of the indie game Gris that came out like in 2018. This was revealed at the PlayStation Showcase last year, so that's coming out this year, but not a solid release date. One of the bigger reveals of the showcase that unfortunately leaked that same day because the YouTube, of course, the YouTube video uploaded before Civilization 7 coming in 2025, and they're gonna show more gameplay this coming August, and it's gonna be a PC and console release. Black Myth Wukong, the game that has been like perpetually shown last year and a bunch of stuff, and just re-solidified its August 20th date, with only the thing that it's launching on PS5 and Steam because the Xbox apparently has Series S problems. Again, a lot of people are blaming the S again for like optimization things for that one. So that's coming for Xbox later. How much later? Who knows? But I know, Eric, I know you're grinning because you're so used to this at this point.
They also announced that the physical copy is gonna be like a code in the box or something like that.
Yeah. And you're like your disc is like, oof, that was like a double whammy for that one.
For me. There's too many good games for you to do something like that.
Yes.
It's easy to cut.
Anyway,
so.
Easier for you to like put it way back in the back burner. So
yeah.
Another look at.
I was gonna say, I'll say it's easy for me to cut a game and move on to something else if they do stuff like that, and you're gonna see the inverse of that happening later on in this game.
Oh yes, I know which one. So then we got another look at Metaphor Fantasio, which is like the next game from the Persona people. Nothing really new other than kind of like showcasing the new classes that they had already teased in their showcase they did a month ago, where they revealed the release date, which is still up for October this year. We got another look at Batman Arkham Shadow, which is like the biggest case of blue balls for poor DC fans that they finally get a Batman game exclusive to VR after they had to suffer through Suicide Squad. I have a lot of friends in the fighting game community, so the announcement for year 2 for Street Fighter 6 was popping for a lot of those friends of mine. Seeing like the announcements of M. Bison, Terry, Elena, and May as like the characters for like the next year of Street Fighter 2. Amazing fighting game. I wish I was more of an online player because I'm more of a single player like fighting game. That's why Mortal Kombat is more my tilt, and even Tekken, but it's really solid and still Capcom's still supporting it. Tears of Metal, one of the more interesting like indie looks of like a game that's like sort of Dynasty Warriors bloody in indie like stylized look. I don't. You can wishlist that now for Steam. I was like, okay, this looks kind of like my jam. Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero, which is basically Dragon Ball Budokai 4 for those of you that were lovers of the Budokai series in PS2, comes out on October 11th. We got another look at Delta Force Hawk Ops, which is like the PvP more like military sim shooter. I think this was like announced before, and they announced that the global PC alpha test is coming in July. But they also announced that, I don't know if this is gonna be a mode or an alternate, but they also announced Delta Force Black Hawk Down, which obviously they're riffing on the Ridley Scott movie. I know a lot of people were like, you're gamifying like movie that's like quite unglamorous. That's quite weird that you're doing that, but we'll leave that conversation for later. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. This was the SNK beat 'em up, if I'm not mistaken. It got revealed, but it was not like released. It was just like, oh yeah, this is happening. Blumhouse, the horror the horror indie studio that has been like giving a lot of horror movies, showed up here to say that they're doing like 4 different games, in indie style for horror. The guy kind of came in to like promote it, so like for people that love their horror indie stuff, which that scene has been buzzing, especially with Croc Country recently. You're gonna get more of those, so you can get like another first-person shooter, a top-down game, immersive, kind of like immersive first-person experience. So it's like for fans of horror, they got the Blumhouse games there. Then the announcement that I popped for the most, a Power Rangers game in the vein of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like Shredder's Revenge, being done by Digital Eclipse. So you got a really solid team working on this. It's gonna have like 5-player co-op, a bunch of different like gameplay styles, and you can wishlist that now. And they confirmed it's gonna be for everything, PC and consoles. Then we got Deer and Boy, one of the first few like sad animal games that were here in showcase season. You can also go and wishlist that. We got a new look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Obviously, that was just recently revealed, so that was more of like a deeper look at the gameplay and how that's kind of coming together. It's still big 2024 release date, but they're still committing to that. There's my dog. There's then we finally got to see the gameplay for Slitterhead, the next game from the original creators of Silent Hill. Didn't look at all like Silent Hill. It was more like a action game that looked intentionally janky. And I can't wait to see if this is actually amazing or awful, or it could be both. it just reeked of that. Then we got Killer Bean, which this has been like teased for a while now. Like this borderline shitpost game of like you playing as a bean that just kills everything. That's coming out on early access later this summer. So then we got another climbing game from indie studio, the Game Bakers, called Cairn. So like if you play Jusant, you kind of have an idea like the kind of game this could be. I think the big hook for this one was that it was co-op, but I could be wrong, but that was announced. Then we got the next game from the Stanley Parable creator called Wonder Stuff that's coming later this year. We got confirmation of when the First Descendant, which is like the looter shooter from Nexon, is coming out. It's coming out pretty soon on July 2nd. We got then an announcement from Outerslav, the creators of Among Us, mentioning how like the amount of money they made from that game allowed them to start like a fund to do like a bunch of indie games, and they announced like 6 games: Mars First Logistics, Battlesuit Aces, Mossfield Archives, 1BTN Bosses, Rogue Eclipse, and Project Dosa. So it's like obviously completely original stuff. You can go check on that, like to see if anything of that tickles the fancy. And they also say that they're doing a TV show for Among Us, which of course it has interesting voice cast, but it's still another game TV show. Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is the remaster / remake of Sonic Generations that's coming out later this year. It got its October 25th release date, and with a 3-day early access like digital deluxe edition if you care about that. The Dune open world survival MMO Dune Awakening got like a meteor trailer. Not much details other than that. We got more details about that like earlier this year. We got this RTS for everyone called Battle Aces, which this was one of like the biggest debates of the show because like the visual tease of this thing was like so cool. It was gonna be something different. It was like, it's an RTS. So you can go look a lot of reactions and be like, oh, I'm excited for this. Nah. Then season 3 of the finals, one of Eric's favorite multiplayer game of last year, if I remember correctly, based on our awards.
Yep.
Yes.
That is true. This year, no. But last year, 100% was my favorite multiplayer game.
Yeah, and came in right at the nick at the end of time. It was really fun. So, for people who are still playing it, I don't know what the population is for that one, but they're doing a 3rd season, so it's still going. So,
it's still pretty strong.
It's still pretty strong. Yeah, you would know. You're more like in tune of like where the online communities are.
Yeah. It's not like Call of Duty, Fortnite, but like that's what people like to measure these games against. But nothing is going to be like that.
Stupid. Yeah, it's stupid measuring it that way. So.
Yeah, you can launch the game, press find a match, and get a match within like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yep, that's all you need.
Do that, and the game's healthy, in my opinion, and that is 100% what this game is. And some of these changes look really, really freaking cool.
Sweet. Then, kind of like the thing that Eric had teased before, Sam Lake from Remedy showed up to announce both the Alan Wake 2 DLC content, as well as for the people that have been waiting for this, they announced physical editions for Alan Wake 2 that are coming out later this year. They're coming in as physical deluxe editions and collector's editions, kind of similar to what Larian did for Baldur's Gate, which I think yours is coming, right? Like you have like an incoming.
Yeah, I forgot to. Last I checked, it was in Memphis, Tennessee. It started in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, it was in Memphis, but I actually haven't looked today, so I'll look at that while you keep going.
Yeah. And then the DLC that they announced for Alan Wake 2 is called Night Springs, which was 3 episodes. I had forgotten to mention that I actually played all these 3 episodes, but I would have spent longer time because we needed to do the shows. Let me just say, people, they're a trip. These 3 DLC episodes are like, your mind's gonna break, especially with the 3rd one. That's all I'll say.
Did you say they all came out at the same time? All 3?
All 3. Okay. Night Springs is like a 3 episodes. You can get that. They last like an hour each, so you can get that done like real quick, and they're like so unique. So this is Remedy at their peak of their weirdness. And the 3rd episode, it's like an ode to Quantum Break, and breaks the 4th wall so hard that I thought I was in a singularity. It's just that kind of weird. It really is. Like, I cannot recommend it, especially if you like Alan Wake 2. I reviewed it for Season Gaming last year. I gave it a 10. Like, if you like that, if you like that game a lot, it's like you owe it to yourself to see this DLC. So that's out now, and there was a sale like on PS. I don't know if it's also on Xbox or on PlayStation. The only way to get this DLC is through the deluxe edition, kind of like upgrade. That's $20. It was on sales for $16, and it's gonna give you this DLC and another one that's coming in October. That they announced already. That's called the Lake House. So. And I think if you buy the physical edition, it's gonna come with all of that included. Maybe cool. I think in Xbox you'll need to punch in the code for the DLC, but that's part of the package of you getting it, and you get the disc. So, New World Eternum, which I think it's like an expansion of the New World MMO that Amazon was doing. It's moving to consoles on October 15th. So, Kunitsugami. Yeah. Do you have something to say about that one? Go for it.
I don't necessarily want to get on a tangent, but I will say the New World community is like very mad.
Really?
So this, because what you said that this is what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cliff Notes version is, and this is based on third-party information that my friend told me. Mm-hmm. New World has like a relatively good or healthy community that it has been content starved for a long time, and the developers have been promising like this big thing is coming. Mm-hmm. And what this is, I think, is not necessarily a new expansion and the game's coming to consoles. It's just they are taking the game that was there and manipulating it so that it's more single player friendly.
Oh, okay.
And then releasing it also on consoles. So they're not really adding a lot for console players. You're getting everything they've done so far all at once. So there's a huge game to get into, and from what I understand, it's pretty good. But for the PC players, which is everybody that's bought the game so far, who have been content starved and been promised this big update,
it's been rough.
They got not that, and then they did like a question or a Q&A where they tried to answer it, and apparently that was like a big, even made it way worse. And apparently they scheduled another one to clarify some of the stuff that people didn't understand. It's kind of a little bit of a mess, I think.
Oof.
So stay tuned for that one if you're a fan of New World.
Oh yes, so I'm curious to see how that one works. I'm always curious for MMOs that start on PC and then eventually make their way to console. So especially because we got
my copy of my copy of Baldur's Gate is in Quebec now. It's in Canada. It's in my country. So
by this time next week you may have it. So
yeah, it could be this week. We'll see. It's still Tuesday. It got in Quebec Tuesday at supper time.
Oh, okay, so maybe tomorrow. Cross some fingers. So, and I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait to see New World. How that does and how it plays on console and seeing how that like more single player design kind of like works, especially with all the content that they put out. Because I think this game's 4 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I think it came out in 2020 or 2021. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was like start of the pandemic. My whole office is like mostly PC gamers, and they all were hooked. Like how hooked I was in Destiny 1 is what they were with this. My PC just couldn't really run it well at the time. I did like the Steam refund thing because I just couldn't get solid performance, and then by the time I upgraded my PC, they kind of all bounced off of it. So I've never really played it.
Yeah, I'm hoping Lost Ark, which is the Diablo-like that they put out, eventually also makes it to console. That one did run in my PC, but I barely play PC games. I'm more of a console player. So then after New World Eternal, we got a new look at Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, the game from Capcom. That is both this strategy action game. If we finally got the release date, it's coming out on July 19th, and that's a day one Game Pass game. This was announced at the Xbox Showcase last year, if I remember. Yes, it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. So, and then the new game from the Hyperlight Drifter and Solar Ash called Hyperlight Breaker. It's coming, an early access for it is coming later this summer. And then we got another look at, we actually got a look finally at Skate, which was announced during the pandemic. And 4 years later, it's still a pre-alpha thing, and apparently they're doing a console playtesting this fall. They announced a new update for Palworld, the ginormous like hit from early January that a lot of people have forgotten actually came out this year. Doesn't have the conversation that it was dominating as in January, but they are now seeing an update, like they're adding a new island. The Xbox version is getting the dedicated service that got put there quickly on the Steam version, if I'm not mistaken, and they're doing a new raid. So, and that update is coming on June 27th, so pretty soon. So I wonder what that will do, because it's like, I know that it went from the 2 million to like the 300,000. That's still pretty healthy, like for like what a normal like online like community can be to be healthy. So I wonder what this will do for Palworld.
Well, for like anecdotally, the not having dedicated servers is why I stopped playing.
Because it was very rubber bandy, right? It was like it was like
no, it's not lag. It's not lag. It wasn't lag at all. Like it wasn't performance. It's just that like ideally how I wanted to play was to have a world that all of my friends can be in. We can build our own town kind of thing, and just have a persistent, kind of like how Valheim works on PC or how Palworld works on PC. You can just set up a server and have a password or whatever. But how it works on Xbox is one person makes the world, and everybody else everybody else has to start a new character in that world, and nobody can play on that server unless the person who created it is online. And so it defeated the purpose. It defeated the purpose of trying to like continuously play something if you only get we all had our own private world. And I think that game is much better as a co-op experience. Yeah, that was when I had the most fun. Yeah, that's when I was had most fun early on. So yeah, then and I'll definitely I'm coming back. Like it comes out at a horrible time because Elden Ring's DLC is like right around that exact. Yes, it'll be 6 days in, because I think Elden Ring DLC is 10 days from now, June 21st. So I probably won't jump in on day one, but I plan on coming back to Palworld for sure. Yeah, I want to see how much especially the Xbox, because I was playing on an Xbox. I want to see how much that version has been like evolving from like its early access, because obviously there was like a gap between how good it was on PC versus like the version that was on Xbox. That was kind of it's way easier to push updates to Steam. Yeah, you have to go through certification process with every update on Xbox. There's only certain very specific things that you can push as a hotfix without a certification. And Steam is more loosey goosey with that stuff. So just for a agile small team, you can just push stuff really quick.
Yeah,
that's what Power World is.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Steam. Valorant console beta coming on June 14th, so literally 3 days from now. Yes, this one's an interesting one because you called it in the wrong showcase. We're gonna talk about that in our bets, but that was I was laughing when I saw it. I was like, this is what we're talking about, but this is in the wrong showcase. Yeah, but finally, like a another big shooter that grew so big on PC, or you would think it's just mostly PC. Now they're making the big transition to console. When they were presented, they made a big deal about that. They really extra tuned in the fact that they wanted this to work on a gamepad, which because Valorant is in that Counter-Strike style of like you don't ADS in these games. It's all hipfire, right? Like from one
no, you can ADS.
You can ADS.
It's not. Yeah, it's you definitely can ADS. I don't know how often people do it, but there is an ADS, and every gun has like a scope that just appears, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's not like Call of Duty. You don't ADS to get like auto aim lock on like in console games, and it probably won't be like that on console here either. It's definitely more about being very twitchy and very accurate.
Is it like Halo Infinite's ADS? That you know how like for example when you have the auto rifle and or the battle rifle,
it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a zoom, but like you're not like zooming inside the gun. It's just like the camera is like zooming. Is it kind of like that?
It's like Halo in the sense that if you zoom in, it doesn't change the effectiveness of your gun in any way. In Call of Duty or in Battlefield or in Apex, like your gun is literally less accurate if you don't ADS. Like ADSing changes the bullet spray pattern and all that stuff. In Counter-Strike or in, I guess you can't ADS in Counter-Strike, but in Valorant, the bullet spray, the pattern, and how accurate you are, and everything all has to do with your if you're moving or crouching, and how you are kind of. I don't know. There's a lot of technicalities to it that I won't get into the weeds here, but yeah, ADSing doesn't affect how accurate you are, but it does affect like the magnification slightly. It's very slight. There's no there is a sniper, but
it's like the to me. I like referring to those as psychological ADS. Even like it doesn't change the effectiveness of the gun. It just like changes your personal effectiveness of you aiming. Because some people really, my buddy Paul, he struggled playing Doom because of that. Like, and he couldn't get away from the idea that he couldn't ADS almost every weapon in that game. And I'm like, yeah, that's just classic arena type shooter, like the shooting from the hip. So
when I play Valorant, I don't really ADS that much.
Yeah,
it is very much Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
in terms of anyway, I think it'll be really fun. I signed up for the beta. I hope I get in.
Oh yeah, so you have to sign. You do have to sign up for that. Yeah, it's a free limited beta, and beta.playvalorant.com. I'm actually gonna do that after we record because I want to try it. So, and then the final two trailers. I have another look at Monster Hunter Wilds, which we saw first at the State of Play, and this was more like a more in-depth, non-cut like version of the gameplay than we saw like at the State of Play, which was more like the classic trailer that we usually get. And the only new thing that they announced with this is that it's gonna have crossplay, which is the thing that a lot of people wanted out of both World and Rise. Like I know Rise was like kind of like a big sticking point, if I'm not mistaken, because that came to the bigger consoles after it was on Switch and PC, and there was like no crossplay. So this will have it. And then and you look at Phantom Blade Zero, the game that I kept saying at the State of Play, hey, this is Phantom Blade. Oh no, it's not that. This is apparently there's another game. So this was the final game of the show. They announced they were doing a bunch of hands-on demos for this thing. This and Horizon were the big PlayStation kind of like, oh, you were partnering with SGF to show this thing. So that's what ended SGF, and that was that. Overall, like, what do you think of this showcase? Like, what the games announced? I know you said that this was a showcase you had kind of like in your side, right? You had it like you were listening to it more than watching it.
No, I did go back and watch it properly as well. I just like to be in the zeitgeist and be in the conversation while, like, in our channel and stuff while it's happening. I don't think it was very strong in terms of like big memorable moments. I think in terms of individual announcements or games that really made an impact for me, I would say the Power Rangers game was, in terms of games, probably the best thing.
Yes.
Alan Wake coming physical, it was such a friggin' good moment. Like I felt so vindicated.
You're the two big games you missed last year specifically for no physicals. It's like you're feeling the vindication now of them eventually serving that for you.
Yeah, with Baldur's Gate I did watch more on because I was more unsure of if I was going to like that game, and I did play the trial that PSN had, so I was a bit more connected in with that game. But Alan Wake 2, like I love Alan Wake. I love everything Remedy does. It's one of my favorite developers ever. But I'm not buying it digital. I'm not buying this game digitally. A single player only AAA big game that's built by the richest company in gaming. I'm not like Epic Games. I'm not going to support that because I knew that it wasn't going to sell well because a lot of people feel the same way, especially outside of North America.
Yeah.
And B, they would cave because I have a copy of the Alan Wake remastered that Epic published physical on PlayStation and on Xbox.
That was the wildest thing. They published the physical of that and then not this one. It was like I know they tried to PR their way into like, this will allow us to like publish it cheaper because it was $50 on PC and $60 on console if you bought it digitally. But it's like, to me, that's not an excuse for this
sell
kind of
me
game.
a deluxe edition for more, like what they're doing, like just like anyway. And so what I'm trying to say is I'm completely dark on this. No offense, I didn't read your review. I didn't look at any reviews. I didn't watch any videos. I didn't look at any impressions. I didn't watch any Twitch streams. I'm dark.
Yeah.
All I know is that it's good. Because people told me it's good, but
all you needed to know.
Yeah, I'm finally gonna get to play it, which is good. So that one thing that with the showcase that I thought was kind of a weird decision was ending on Phantom Blade.
Yeah,
like the fact that you said that you thought like pretty much every game at State of Play was Phantom Blade. You probably could have convinced me that Wu Chang game that was at the Xbox game was also Phantom Blade.
Yep.
Like all of this stuff just kind of blends together with me until some of these games start coming out and like separating themselves critically. Probably like I'm not super excited for them because like it feels, I don't know, I got a weird feeling about these games. These like they all look like Dark Souls,
and that's kind of like a quick addendum that I want to do the Phantom Blade because there were impressions that finally came out of the people that played it at SGF and the demo station. It's not a Souls like. It's a DMC like they specifically mentioned it's gonna be like a more hack and slash quick game on combos and combo breakers and animation cancelings and all of that. They announced that, so I'm like, okay, that at least makes this different because the two games we saw at the State of Play and Wuchan, clear Souls like, it's clear like where that is. And the one thing they had is that they had a From Software art director join them. That's why this has like some From Software kind of like smell in its look in a way. So until I read that, I'm like, okay, now I'm slightly more interested because at least now I know Phantom Blade Zero has something unique compared to the other ones, specifically them mentioning DMC, which is completely different from a Souls like or even Sekiro.
Yeah.
So, but that was not conveyed in the showcase. So like if we're just judging that on the showcase, it's like if we're reaching critical mass of a bunch of these games are looking like very like the same now. So
yeah, and I think we talked about it before, so I won't get too into it. But yeah, when you have a game like Lies of P, like that really separates itself, and it's easier to get excited about that. Yeah, and other games that are kind
even
of like
Stellar, even Stellar Blade in a way, like it has something that it differentiated it. So
I agree 100%. One thing that I think is kind of interesting, and I don't know if this is like a lot of people have the same opinion. First of all, I like Jeff Keighley. I think that he genuinely cares about video games. I think that he is kind of torn between I can recognize and see all these things that are wrong and happening that are bad in the industry, but I have all these relationships business wise that I can't just like trash anybody. So he has to like probably go against his better judgment in some cases because like this is a business, like he has people anyway. So I think he was subtly trying to make a statement about that not only by his opening remarks, which I think were pretty milquetoast in terms of what people probably wanted him to say, but I think it's good that he said that. I think his graphic about how 8 of the top 10 best-selling games on Steam were made by like a one guy or one developer or like a small team of people, that was really poignant. I think the fact that he highlighted the Bloomhouse games and the Outer Sloth publisher as a really awesome sign of success from either games like Among Us, or even success outside of video games, like with Bloomhouse Productions. Those successes leading to more money going into the medium. I think highlighting those is really cool and really important. And I think that this is probably the only stage where somebody would allow that to happen, which I think is just really, really cool. So I think the overall theme of, yes, all this bad stuff is happening. Yes, people are losing their jobs, but also let's like show you ways where there are good things happening. There is hope in the industry. There are people who are able to come from, because like I would wager that every one of the solo developers that are making these successful games have probably worked on bigger teams and probably have had either bad experiences or bad enough experiences where they wanted to branch out on their own,
or were laid off.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they're able to come out of those situations and make these games, the tools are there, and people can do it. I think highlighting that is really cool, and I think the overall theme of this was kind of Jeff's milquetoast, like PG-13 way,
borderline PG.
Commenting on the things that are bad that are happening without coming out and saying it, but doing it in a way where the message is still like heard, and he's showing like the positive things that are happening at the same time, which I really, really liked. So the reveals weren't there, the wasn't there, the ending games were weird, there wasn't a lot of things that I was super, super excited about personally, but I do like to showcase. I think that he did a great job of kind of towing the line with not saying anything too offensive, but also saying all the stuff that I really wanted to hear from him. So I do applaud Jeff for this show, and I think that overall, I don't like slapping numbers on it necessarily. I feel like that's a bit reductive. However, I think that
it was okay. It's okay. I thought it was okay, because it's like I would say it's definitely like as he's been doing this show since like 2020 onwards, when he finally did SGF. And specifically 2021 was when he blew it up into like more of a showcase compared to the first time. This reminds me of the 2022 one, where it was like a bunch of showing a smaller cadre of games, but not having like a big punctuation mark, kind of like he did in 2021 and 2023, when his entire show like led to the Elden Ring re-reveal. Last year ended with Rebirth. So it's like games that were like everything else in the show was like normal. They had good announcements, but it was like punctuated. He didn't have a punctuation mark for this one, but this felt like a better like showcase of indies that at least gives hope for people that are feeling kind of like weird about where the industry is, with like how AAA is kind of going. Like AAA is like slow in some senses, but Xbox kind of like helped us kind of like show that no, there's still hope in that in like bigger budget games if you're looking. But I thought it was okay, especially reading and seeing like there were a few things that I'm like, I'm interested in this. Like it's not I saw people saying that this was the worst show ever, and I'm like, I don't think I could go that like go there. No. That's only if you only care about like big name AAA stuff. Obviously he didn't have this, but he still had stuff. It's just that compared then to what came 2 days later, it's like you made the joke. It's like, what is the gap between this showcase and the other one? It's the Grand Canyon when it comes to size and like impact. So with that, now we're gonna talk about like the one that we made the joke that who actually came to play. And if Jeff kind of like felt like he showed up because he wants to show up because he just wants to show up and be like, I started Summer Gamefest, so I have to show up regardless if the content is there or not. Xbox felt like both showing up, other than just wanting to show up, but not trying to make a statement, especially for the year that they were having, and they had quite the showcase to put it lightly. So before we go into like our thoughts on how the showcase went, like let's go over like what they announced. So obviously like old school 360 era showcases they used to have, or like back when they were the E3 press conferences. They once again started with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which to me was like, okay, cool, yeah, flaunt it, you own it now. This is that remind me when Call of Duty used to open your 360 conferences, and even though they had the developer direct afterwards, that was like 25 minutes later, they reiterated October 25th, and then Phil Spencer going the whole like, I'm not doing, everyone gets the exact same game now, no exclusive like betas and all that. And I'm like, I know why you're saying it. That was like the stipulation you put out to the regulators. That's what you're saying, but hey, it's like it's better for everyone because of what we were talking with Destiny. But then like the true like opener for me was like Doom, the new Doom game, the Doom the Dark Ages, that's gonna be out in 2025. I think we mentioned that it was gonna be a reverse order of operations when this was showing up, and this ended up showing up first. A lot of gameplay shown. If you ever played Doom, you know what you're looking at. This is like wilder looking Doom with like more melee stuff. You can ride dragons and big mechs. It's like it's as wild as you can imagine the Doom reboot, and you're gonna play it next year. Then we got the re-reveal of State of Decay 3, which we have not seen since it was teased back in 2020. You could get tiny glimpses of what looked like gameplay, but this is still like knowing what I played at State of Decay 1 and 2. I kind of want to see more, like if it's actually like what the tiny glimpses we saw, that's actually what it is. It had no release date or window, so. Then we got Dragon Age The Veilguard. We got a trailer that made it look like it was a freaking Overwatch, a multiplayer thing. But that was quickly countered now finally with the gameplay reveal. Did you watch it, Eric? The 15-minute thing that came out today?
Age?
Yeah, for Dragon Age? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome.
Yes. That helped a lot. Kind of like dissuade a lot of like the negative feelings this trailer gave, because a lot of people.
I also like the trailer too.
You like this trailer? Okay, yeah. I didn't mind it. It was just kind of like when I saw online, I was like, oh crap, a lot of people hated this. So I'm like, but then when you look at the gameplay, it's like it doesn't quite look like the trailer. It has a more, the tone feels like more what I expect out of Dragon Age, if I'm perfectly honest. So, and the gameplay looked fun. I like action games, so them going more action route is not a problem for me. But I know I was seeing a lot of scuttlebutt in the internet of like, they're moving away from like turn-based. I'm like, this game was never turn-based. If you ever played Origins or even Inquisition, it's like, yes, you can like slow stuff and all that. This is not like a turn-based thing as you like, as you would know it. So there's a lot of Mass Effect 2 there, though, that I saw in some of that gameplay. So I'm like, gimme. That was my like. Sorry, Ains and Steve, that's my favorite Mass Effect. It's a majority opinion. Are you an ME2 or an ME1 guy, Eric? I don't know. You go back and forth. You go back and forth. Have you even turned to the one camp?
I played them on 360. Okay, so I'm far removed from when I played them. I am reserving the right to make a definitive, declarative statement until I replay them.
Makes sense.
But my gut right now is telling me that the Mass Effect 1 has a better story. Mass Effect 2 has better gameplay.
Yes.
Depending on what you think of, what do you think is more important? I would say would be which one's better. For me, I think the more memorable one was probably the first one.
Makes sense.
I remember buying that day one Blockbuster, and yeah, I remember it being on Fox News about like
the alien sex.
Yeah, that Jeff Keighley interview is amazing. I would recommend anybody check that old clip out if you can find it. But yeah, one has like a grander. To me, I'm always one has a grander, more like space opera like grandeur to it, and two has like better gameplay and a more intimate relationship building. And there's like a lot of like great mini stories within two compared to like the grander story of one. Depending on, and I feel like I feel they're both equally great. I would even say that what the Legendary Edition has done for Mass Effect 1 is actually pretty impressive, to the point that I don't feel 2 is that big of a leap in gameplay anymore compared to like I would love for you to play a Legendary Edition whenever time allows it in the future in this like perpetually like busy times. But there was like, they mentioned a lot during the previews that especially that came out of embargo recently, that called back a lot into Mass Effect 2. So I'm like, I know some people like will grate a teeth hearing that, but I'm happy. So then afterwards we got to see Shattered Space, the Starfield DLC that gives it a lot of
very much visual dynamicism to like the content, especially for a game that's like very retro futurist but very kind of like simple. It's like it looks very wild. No date yet, but it's still coming out this year. But they shadow drop basically new content that same day, a new location, gear, bounties, and the we're talking about the mods. So that became available. I wanted to download that yesterday and I had to re-download the entire 109 gigabyte file. I was like, what happened here? But I downloaded it, so I'm still gonna try it. Then Fallout 76 got its expansion, which is Skyline Valley, which they have been teasing. If you've been playing Fallout 76 this year, there's been like a private server that you could test this new content. I got to see it when I was playing with Travis when he was re-reviewing it for IGN. So that's coming out tomorrow when we're recording, June 12th. Then we got, in my opinion, game of the show, Expedition 33. Or more like, or I'll read it the full name because it's a mouthful. Clair Obscure Expedition 33. This game from like a French developer that has a lot of former Ubisoft developers. Makes sense. Ubisoft is like at its core a French company. They're big. They mentioned that they're pretty big fans of Persona, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and all of that. And they're doing this Unreal Engine 5 powered RPG. Like with like a very, you can feel the French aesthetic in some parts, but it like looks so otherworldly, like very remnant. If you see something like this, so some of this weird things, and they're doing this turn-based gameplay with a lot of active time elements. That if you played Sea of Stars or you're playing Paper Mario, they're doing that in like a turn-based. And if I'm perfectly honest, that's the best way for you to do turn-based. Something that gives you the strategy, but also gives you like actual interactions. It looks so cool. It's coming out in 2025 and it's gonna be day one on Game Pass, even though it's also gonna be on PS5. It's not bad. Day one Game Pass is a big win. Then we got to see Compulsion Games' game South of Midnight, which was first revealed last year, just one trailer for, and we got to see it that it's an actual like third-person adventure that reminded me a lot of Kena Breach of Spirits in some ways, especially with like a boss fight that they showed, and it's mixing its Spider-Verse slow frame rate like animation in like a very beautiful world, but also really smooth in a way that I like the Spider-Verse art style. It speaks to me a lot. This looked even better than I was expecting it, and it's out next year in 2025. Warcraft announced the War Within expansion, and it also delivered a trailer that debated so many people. It's so funny. Everyone had the exact same thought as this trailer was going. Because we're like, is this the one that makes the jump?
I'm curious if they'll comment on that, because I had to clip my reaction because I was freaking. I was out of my chair. I was freaking out because it's something that's been rumored for so long. If you're a WoW player, you know that over time they've been incorporating like controller support slowly. Like when Shadowlands came out, they added in all the iconography for Xbox and PlayStation controllers. There's so many mods that you can play, that you can map stuff to controller and play really, really easily. It works on Steam Deck pretty flawlessly. Baited so hard.
Yes, it was like it just felt like that because you're like, this is an Xbox games showcase. Obviously they do PC, but most of the time when they do stuff, a lot of the time they have been like pushing for both PC and Xbox stuff to show up in the main showcase. So them doing Warcraft gave everyone the impression. So that's why it's so funny. Then when it was just PC, I'm like, okay.
I think it's cool that they show Warcraft there. I think that's totally fine.
It's in their right. They own it. So,
and if they showed any, like, if you look at all the trailers that they released for every expansion, it's very thematically tied into the expansion, which is kind of is, but like how they revealed this is almost like how they revealed like Classic.
Really?
So I don't know how familiar you are with.
No, I remember it was a big deal when when Classic was revealed. That I do remember. Someone that was from the outside.
Yeah,
so
I don't know if you are super familiar with what the trailers, like what the pieces of this trailer like meant. So like when it was like that orange ball and then it like cleared out and you saw the dwarf in the snow. That's the original cinematic trailer for the original launch of World of Warcraft.
Oh,
from 2004. And then it cuts to the guy with the wings and the two blades. That's the second expansion.
Oh wow!
And then it shows Arthas, the blue night in the snow, the Lich King. That's the third expansion.
That I reckon. Like when I saw Lich King, I was like, "This is Warcraft." Because when I was watching it with my bud Sebastian, I was like, "What is this?" Like, that's the Lich King. Because I remember that was 2007. Yeah, and like Lich King was like all the way back in 2007, 2008. So, and now I understand why you got baited, because like, why are you showing the entire history?
Why are you showing me the entire history? They showed every expansion, every single one in order.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you show it like that? Like, I kind of get it. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like a new saga, and like everything that happened leads up to this is kind of what they're going for. But like, you got to read the room. You're at the Xbox stage. Yep. You have a lot of Xbox gamers watching. If you are an Xbox gamer like me and a World of Warcraft fan, which there's probably a pretty decent cross,
good overlap. Yeah,
there's not one person that fits that Venn diagram that thought that this wasn't coming to console.
Yeah, it's like, so and it's funny. Everyone, it's like almost universally everyone felt. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one that felt like it was a bait, even as someone that only recognized few parts, but it still felt like this could have been like the grand reveal of like, now that we own it, it's like this would have been like an even bigger slam dunk, even though there was like a big slam dunk at the very end, like this one and this one would have given you.
Yeah, this would have made it like, I said I don't put numbers on it. I wouldn't say this was a 10 necessarily. Maybe it was, but like this would have definitely made it that. But just to circle back, the classic reveal, how they did that is they showed like the current WoW, and then they had like a voiceover saying like, oh, you can't go home again, but like you can if you have a temporal discombobulator, which is like an in-universe thing, and then it starts rewinding back through all the old numbers. So it starts at the end and then rewinds to the dwarf in the snow, and like that's how they reveal it. So like
the opposite of this that started at the beginning, and move forward.
Exactly, and it was it's there. That would have been the perfect way to reveal it, but it wasn't that. So I'm curious to see if they will.
They have
well, they definitely have noticed that people feel like they got baited, and they probably saw the excitement for the possibility of that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if they'll ever comment.
And they have to see that how big FF14 is, even on like console. The fact that now New World's gonna go there is like, it's clear they're trying to like make MMOs break through more on console. Is like, now you own Warcraft. This would be like a great way to like beef up your Game Pass like offerings with something like that.
Yeah. Do you know of like any of the not behind the scenes, but like the community aspect of how WoW Classic like came to be?
I don't think I know it, and I don't know. Is it long? Can you do like a Cliff Notes version?
I'll just do a clip super fast, like a minute. So like at BlizzCon, they were doing a panel, and like the heads of WoW were like talking about the newest expansion at the time, and one of the community people like walked up, they're just a fan, and asked a question and was like, would you ever consider bringing back like classic servers? And then the head of Warcraft at the time was just like, you think you want that, but you really don't. And then he started like throwing jabs about all the bad parts that people think are bad about classic, which aren't bad and are things people love.
Was it kind of like another version of the don't you guys have phones, kind of like Glaive?
It was pretty similar. There was like that before that. He's like, do you remember when you used to have to talk to people to get farmer group? And he's like, yeah, that's what I want. He's like, now you can just click a button, it's so much easier. And we were like, no, we don't want that. But anyways, that is when private servers, they always existed, but they started to popularize. And then this one called Nostalrius was like super big, and it was like one of the best places to play classic WoW, and Blizzard shut it down, which coincidentally led to, of all people, Mark Kern like grabbing a ton of he like literally grabbed like thousands and thousands of signatures and printed them out on a piece of paper. It was like stacked like this high of people petitioning that they didn't want Nostalrius to be closed, or they wanted Blizzard to do classic servers, and sent that to Blizzard. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling, because a couple years later, the same guy that said you think you do but you don't, he gave this whole speech about his favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate, but some people's favorite flavor is vanilla. And then they did that trailer for Vanilla WoW and yada yada. So it started by them saying, oh, you don't want this, but then the community being like, yes, we do, and being very vocal, and then it eventually came. So what I'm trying to say is like, maybe this could spark that a little bit. But anyway, I don't want to anyway.
No, and I feel like Xbox right now isn't, we need every win possible, everything that can, and I feel that could help. So
yeah, they
really must notice like how much of a win last Sunday was. So, and how much they desperately need to keep this kind of like momentum. So then after WoW, we got to see gameplay now more fully than we previously did at the ID at Xbox for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which is the remake for MGS3. We got to see more of like the reworked gameplay that looks closer to MGS5, not quite as fast because like they're still like going through similar looking levels that I recognize because I'm a big MGS3 guy. Like visually, it looks really actually looks really great, like better than I was expecting it. It's lost a little bit of the hue color that defined a lot of that game, but it's like they gained a lot of fidelity for that. And no quiet release date. That was originally said that was gonna come out this year, and then we got a report that was at 2025, and no update there. And they showed it today at the Xbox podcast that they're doing like a individual showcase for every game recently. And yesterday was Avowed, today was Metal Gear, and then nothing about the release that came out from there. So Metal Gear still coming, looking better than I thought it was coming from Konami, especially with how Silent Hill 2 remake looks. It's like it's all night and day comparing these two games. Then we got a new update coming for Sea of Thieves Season 13 coming on July 25th. Obviously now Sea of Thieves re-energized by the influx of PS5 players they brought in, so that thing's gonna continue there. RIP Everwild. I'll just say that. Like, I feel that thing's dead now. Like, this was the only thing that we got from Rare. So we'll talk about that more in the bets. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, the game that they have been showcasing quite a few times now. This like Souls-light action game that's like piratey themed. Finally a release date much sooner than I was expecting, July 18, 2024, and it's on Game Pass. So I popped for this because I freaking love Age of Mythology. Age of Mythology Retold coming September 4th for Xbox and PC. Like, I barely was a PC gamer, but Mythology was this was the one for me. That when I played it's like, this consumed me. Age of Mythologies. I never did Empires, but Mythology really clicked for me for its for being like things that I recognize from playing or for watching the Hercules movie. But
have you played Age of Empires?
I tried 4, and I was like, I thought it was my thought was I wish this was Age of Mythologies. That's what I did with like Empire.
But like the control scheme is really good.
Yes.
So I think that this like.
This I'm gonna be all over this. Really well. Yeah, I'm gonna be all over this. Like, I'm love that they're like committed for the Xbox. If it works as well as Age of Empires 4, I'm gonna have a really good time. Perfect Dark finally emerges from the dark after it was teased at the Game Awards in 2020. I thought this was gonna show up at Keighley's show, but Xbox decided no, we're gonna re-reveal it ourselves because despite all scuttlebutt to the contrary, and it may be true because we still have no release date or window. They finally got to show us what this game is. And this is basically Perfect Dark reimagined as a Deus Ex Mirror's Edge like hybrid. And boy oh boy was I impressed. I'll just say, like, well, because I was like, this looks way better coming from like the initiative that has needed to prove that that they needed to do something. They still can clean up a few stuff here and there, but on the elevator pitch of what this can be, like Perfect Dark is an immersive sim, sign me in. It's interesting that Crystal Dynamics is the one working on this, and the Deus Ex people are working with Fable. When I think it can be the other way around, like the Deus Ex people helping them work on the Deus Ex stuff. But hey, Crystal Dynamics showing that they can help doing a immersive sim. So that I bet is 2026. If I would have to like guess, like the timeline, if we're kind of like seeing more gameplay pitches, this definitely is something that Ains popped for. The Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred coming out on October 8th. Funny enough, the same day that Jason Schreier is posting his book over the Blizzard thing. So he announced that's like it. Yeah, that's such an interesting coincidence because that's his next book, a full-on expose of the rise and fall and rise of Blizzard. So if you like audiobooks, you can listen to that as you play that day. You have to buy this expansion. It's not on Game Pass, but you can play Diablo 4 on Game Pass now. So we finally got a look at Fable, which was the thing that opened the show last year, and it was a thing that a lot of people were very skeptical of. When everyone was like, "No, this is how the game really looks," and I was like, "Does it really?" And then when you look at the game and seeing the tiny glimpses of gameplay, I'm like, okay, there is some truth to what they were saying. There's like, it's kind of going in that direction, and they put finally a date for it, 2025, which means in January we're gonna see this thing like the full-on gameplay. And if it's already looking like this, I'm really excited for them to have this kind of like meaty game that's this visual stunner that Xbox has been needing. Like, they finally got that with Hellblade, but a lot of people are like, yeah, it's a linear game, it's like a smaller team. It's like, no, this is full on RPG. This is the full on RPG looking like this. So
I think most of that trailer was gameplay. Mm-hmm. I think people said the same thing about Hellblade that they're saying about this, and Hellblade looks like exactly like it did in the trailer.
Exactly, so. Yeah. And with this, like, this will be like a full-on game more than the more like curated experience of Hellblade. So it's like them doing like the more meaty RPG looking like this is gonna, and coming from Playground, which if you look at Forza Horizon 5, incredible looking game for the Xbox. A lot of people are like, yeah, but it's a racing game. I was like, no, but look what they've done with the tech. Imagine they could do that with an RPG. Yeah. It's like this is having that kind of like punch that everyone has been hoping that Playground could do, and let's see when we get it. Maybe holiday next year, but it having a year at least gets us closer. Let's just not hope.
Yeah, I can't wait to see people talk about the frame rate forever.
Yeah, if it's just a 30 frames thing. Yeah. I mean, hey, one of these games, Eric, finally will launch it with 60 frames because they keep patching it. Like all of their games keep getting a 60 frames patch. I'm expecting it for Hellblade like in 6 months.
FSR, baby.
Yeah, FSR is gonna change a lot, and we got a 5v5 shooter called Fragpunk, which it's their Conquered, but looking more stylized, not looking like a generic. That's kind of how I saw it. So it's so funny. It's like Xbox get their 5v5 and PlayStation get theirs, but this one was a quick glimpse. I don't know if this is for me, but it's like, hey, they got their NetEase game. We got to see Winter Burrow, which was this showcase's sad animal game. I'm all about that sad animal game, so I'm gonna try this whenever that happens. We got the next game from the creators of The Artful Escape called Mixtape. That looks very Life is Strange, which is interesting considering what also was revealed later in the show. But I know a lot of people, some people that liked Artful Escape were interested in this. It being a Game Pass thing means I'll try it. I want to try it whenever it comes out. We got another look at Flight Simulator 2024. This was a big snooze for me. This is like, yay, cool. More Flight Sim coming out on November 19th. I did like the crossovers last year for Dune and one from Top Gun the year before, but before that, I said, yeah, it's just Flight Sim. We got the 10-year, kind of like the 10-year anniversary like announcement of I think this expansion was already announced, but it was just a reminder of like, hey, it's been 10 years for ESO. So the next expansion is called Gall Road, and like last year around this time, all the expansions were for free, so you can play all of them once again. So the big Square Enix thing that showed up in the showcase, a lot of people were thinking Final Fantasy was going to show up here after the multi-platform news, but I think that comes in TGS, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So next, Life is Strange, now an official sequel to the original, because you're following Max Caulfield, which was the protagonist. Now she's older in this one. Comes out this year on October 29th. Not Game Pass, but for people that like Life is Strange, I like the original one. I wasn't huge on Beyond the Storm. I really like Life is Strange 2. I never finished True Colors. I have a soft spot for the teenage angst of the series, but I know a lot of people really love Life is Strange.
Music in these games.
The music's what carries me, if I'm perfectly honest. Surprise reveal coming out later this year. The year's filling up. Then we got to see another look at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is still coming in 2024. I'm expecting this Friday we're gonna get the full release date, because there were the two big games that were at the developer direct dated for this year came and went for the showcase with no like solid release date. That blunted a little bit of the impact of them showing up here. And if I'm honest, I liked what I saw of Indiana Jones better at the developer direct more than what I saw here, which was more of an extended cutscene. That, yeah, you already sold me that you nailed the tone and all that. I would have loved to see more of the game being played, but I think we're gonna get that on Friday because they did that for Avowed. So still coming 2024. Excited for them because we've talked about it. These are the Riddick guys. These are the Wolfenstein guys. Like Machine Games don't miss. We're gonna ignore Youngblood happened. They didn't work on that game. That was Arcane. So as in my mind, like they still haven't missed. Excited to still play Indiana Jones. Rumors that it's December. So
my most anticipated game.
Yeah, it's one. Mine is Star Wars, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's in that top 5 for me. Mecha Break, the multiplayer armor core looking like versus game, like got another trailer here with just the big thing is the beta is coming in August 2024. I'm like,
I read that it's 50 versus 50.
Really? Oh, okay. That I didn't read that.
Change my perspective.
Yes, because I didn't get the conveyance. I thought it was more like a 5v5, like 1-1. But if it's 50 versus 50 mechs, I'm gonna try that beta now in August 2024. So,
yeah, maybe they were. I either read it or saw someone on a like recap talking about it.
Yeah, it could have been. So
if that's true. That's crazy.
Yes,
it blows my mind.
Yeah, especially that would be like absolute madness, and I'm all for madness, as I mentioned with that ending of Destiny Final Shape. So beta coming August 2024. Wuchang, the Souls, basically the Souls entry for this showcase, coming on 2025, also coming to Game Pass. I don't know like what makes this more special than any of the other Souls like we're getting, but hey, this one's on Game Pass now. So About also got another show, like got a showing here. I would say this showing compared to the one at the Developer Direct, opposite Indiana Jones, this was a better showing for About. Now I feel much better knowing that this game is coming out on November 12th, 2024, because that was revealed at the podcast on Monday. When it came, like, this was one of, like, this and Indiana Jones were my quote-unquote disappointments of the showcase of, this should have been the time of the release date. Just in that of, like, if they're still, like, for this year. But now that I know the release date, I'm not as disappointed if it's not showing up. I know it's still this year. And Matt Piscatella really, the guy from Circana, NPD, really made a good point of, we shouldn't worry still if a bunch of these games just has the year, because especially for Xbox, they're mostly digital. Like, they're more like digital distribution than physical. Before they needed to solidify physical, kind of like the release dates to kind of like start allocating physical pre-orders and all that. That's why they needed to announce like more a more direct release date. But with Xbox, it's much easier to kind of like maybe hold the release date now. So I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. I know that's not something you like to hear as a physical guy, Eric, but that's just kind of like the reality of the ecosystem. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So, About coming in November. Rebellion showed up. The guys that made Sniper Elite or Sniper Warrior, whichever is the one that you can shoot balls out of the steer like in slow-mo. They're basically doing a Fallout game or a Fallout style game that I was like, this is like Fallout meets Far Cry, called Atomfall. It's coming in 2025. It's also going to be on Game Pass. So it was just so funny that before we got Atomic Heart, now we got Atomfall. So there's going to be an Atom something coming to Game Pass. That is basically a first-person something. So we got another look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, which got its big gameplay demo at the Ubisoft afterwards. So obviously, this was going to be just like last year, Mirage was at the PlayStation Showcase. No PlayStation Showcase this year. Now, Shadows gets to show up at the Xbox Showcase. I think that this game looks really good, personally. And then we got another meaty look at the gameplay for Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. My heart goes out for this developer. This game was supposed to come out 2 years ago, and they had to delay it because of the whole thing in Ukraine. But the fact that it's getting this close to being released, it looks so damn good. Also, looks more of a Far Cry thing than I was expecting it. I don't know if you played the older Stalkers. I don't have a frame of reference for that. This seemed bigger than what people have told me with Stalker being. More of like a survival shooter that's like closer to Fallout, but more of gunplay focused than just Fallout. So I don't know. Do you know anything about Stalker, or are you just equally in the blank as I am?
I haven't played them. I did read about them a little bit. The older ones were, I guess Far Cry might be a decent comparison, but they were, at least, I don't know if this is going to be like that, but they were very like hardcore, like counting bullets, like drinking, like
full on survival games.
Yeah, like you die very easily, and lots of dangers that you have to watch out for, and like stuff like that.
Makes sense.
But I don't really know too much, to be honest. But I am excited for this. I actually pre-ordered the collector's edition
a long
time ago, and in support of the people in Ukraine and things like that. I have a friend in Ukraine, and it's crazy to listen to them talk about it, because it's been happening for so long.
2 years now, since it first happened. 2 years. So
I'll be in a call with them, and they'll just be like, "Oh, the bomb sirens are going off," and I'm like, "Shouldn't you like run?" And it's like, "No, it's happens."
We're used to it. We're used to it now.
Like, oh my god,
I couldn't. I could not just think about that. It's wild thinking that in September 4th it's Age of Mythology, September 5th is Stalker, and September 6th is Astrobot. Damn, that's a week. That's quite a week.
You only have to pay for one.
Yeah, only one, a Game Pass. Yes. that was the reason why I bought my Series X, because I just knew. I was like, yeah, this is my Game Pass machine, and they're certainly feeding me. And speaking of being feeding you, because of the digital distribution, they announced the Series X Digital, which we knew before is known as the adorably old digital. Not quite the cylinder.
However,
yeah.
The asterisk.
Yeah.
It's not a cylinder.
Yeah, it's still the square.
Changing what it looked like wasn't what bothered me. Mm-hmm. What bothered me in the docked leak was that they're like, oh, it's going to have improved Bluetooth and it's going to have like faster memory, or it's like there was like all these improvements that were kind of slight. It wasn't like, oh, it's going to have more RAM or better.
Like a Pro, like a Pro to the X, like a Pro X.
It wasn't like a huge leap, but it was like even small things. It would make it the best console, the best version. And if the best version is digital only, then that sucks, because I would never buy it, because it would be a waste of money. I couldn't play any of these on it. Pointing at games behind me. But this is literally copy paste. It's copy paste. It's $50 less.
It's white.
And they also announced a new Xbox that is the best looking one I've ever seen.
The black one.
Drive.
Yeah.
So, and so like this announcement totally fine with. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, because it's like them still doing the disc one, where that one now has 2 terabytes. It's like, hey, at least it's like the disc one is still kind of like in rotation. Sucks that it's $600. It's like that's like the most disappointing thing about this generation, where we're like 4 years in and the prices, instead of going down, and they're going up. Right now there's like a sale for the 1 terabyte disc one for $399, and the $199 for the 512 Series S. I'm like, those are the prices we should be, like, if inflation wasn't a thing, or like this generation not gone like how it's gone. So now they have a $600 Series X, but hey, it has 2 terabytes. So it's like, at the very least, there's something there. It's still sad that I would have loved if things being different. The 1 terabyte one had become the $399 that is currently on sale, that you can buy it now, and this became the 500 one. That would have been like the perfect scenario.
I haven't seen the price, the Canadian price for the 2 terabyte. I'm assuming it's going to be literally insane.
800 probably.
Yeah, when I bought the Series X in 2020, it was $599, and I just looked on Amazon now, and a Series X with Diablo, mind you, is $628, which I think is kind of a sale price.
Yeah,
because the one without Diablo is $647. So
sales price. Yeah,
the base has gone up more than what I've paid, without adding anything. So you can still get deals sometimes, but it is disheartening, and the cost of the expansions are still like a 2 terabyte expansion is like $340 Canadian.
And it's the one that you plug in behind the console.
A 1 terabyte expansion card is like $200 Canadian. So if this new console is $800, then it makes sense. They're just not giving you a discount. But also, it's worth noting that this is a limited edition console too. It has a different like design.
The green at the bottom. It has like crystal look to the black.
Yeah, it's
also
like stars. It's like supposed to be like galaxy stars. It looks like the top half of the Halo Infinite one, but it's instead the whole thing. And I don't know why. I can't understand this. It pissed me off. So many people I know that were there took a video clip of it in the glass box, but none of them took a video that showed like the top, because it looks like the top, like, you know how the Series X, the grill at the top has like green
on
the bottom half of it, and it has a cool effect. It looks like this new one has white at the top, but no one showed it. No one like literally moved their camera
up. Screwed up. I know Ains like took video.
Yeah, everyone did, and no one showed. I saw like 5 people that did basically the same video, but none of them. So I think the top might be white instead of green, which is super cool. So I think there's maybe a premium there. Maybe if it was all black and it was 2 terabyte, maybe it would be like 550 instead of 600, or maybe like 750 instead of 800 Canadian. And then I think that kind of makes sense, because right now if I bought a Series X for $650 and spent $200 on a memory card, like I'm right in that $850-800 range. This is Canadian prices, so
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I wish it was cheaper, but the console just looks so cool. I'm still considering it because it looks so cool.
I know. So, and at the very least for you, it has the disc drive. So, and with like games becoming bigger in size, looking at you, Black Ops, is like, eventually it's like you want to start like trying to get more of that memory. So
it's
like
that on a Series S, 309 gigs.
Yeah,
Would that fit on a Series S? If you bought a Series S and Call of Duty,
I feel it would be the only game that it would fit there, unless I had heard, especially because I talked with my brother, because my brother is full Call of Duty guy. He follows the Charlie and Tells, like all the people.
Yeah, the 300 is not accurate.
Yeah, it's like 300 is like everything installed. So MW2, MW3 right now, and apparently Activision did mention that they're gonna file compress when Black Ops comes in, which makes sense if they still want to keep this stupid HQ app that they're doing. You gotta compress if you want everyone to like be able to like play all those 3 games.
You can't really spend money on microtransactions if the game's not installed.
Exactly.
And if the game's going to take up half or more of your storage, it's not going to stay. It's not going to stay installed. So that's a thing that they kind of have to balance, I think.
Yeah. It's
X Defiant, 30 gigs.
That's what I love the most about it, because like it's giving me the Call of Duty feel, it's giving me the Call of Duty taste, and it can live in my hard drive in perpetuity because I'm not worried about it hogging the space.
Exactly.
So yeah. And then after that, before teasing that, yeah, we're gonna move over to the 25-minute Call of Duty thing. We have the one more thing, which, as we had expected, as it was kind of leaked, but here's why I said that this. We kind of like agreed that this was actually the biggest pop, because yes, Gears of War is back, but not Gear 6. It is a prequel to the original Gears of War. Gears of War E-Day, you play as Marcus, Dom is back. They did Mad World in the trailer. What are they doing? They pulled the nostalgia card that worked so well for Force Awakens, that worked so well for a bunch of stuff, and it was so effective. Why? Because it's like them realizing that there's enough distance now where there is nostalgia for the era of Gears of War that made this franchise so big in the 360 era. Think about it. It's been 14 years since Gears 1. 2006.
6, okay.
Actually, 18 years. Right now that I'm like counting, it's like 18 years since the original. That's enough time for you to like be nostalgic for that. Especially like the last time you saw Dom was Gears 3. Spoilers. And it's like, and then
he's on vacation.
Yeah,
in the new one.
Yeah, he just retired. So him being back, them like doing a trailer that they confirmed was in engine, like it's like an in engine thing, like how they did the Mad World. That it was like what made that spot so effective, apart from like the mood setting, was the fact that the game basically looked like that, and they did it like all within game. And they were saying that kind of like what I was telling you, my hope was gonna be that Gears and Unreal Engine has always been kind of like the franchise that has pushed that tech up and forward. And if Hellblade did so many great things, them as a smaller team with photogrammetry and all of that, thinking about like what these guys could do, and if this looks like that, and them saying all the right things of no open world stuff, is gonna be like a traditional Gears game that's going back to the horror feels of the original one. The game was not a survival horror game, but like the darker aesthetic, like your first look at the Locust and all of that, was something. Yeah, it was something that eventually got lost when the series started to grow in scope and gotten brighter and all of that. So it's like the mystery was kind of gone, and it's like they wanted to recreate that feel. And by appealing to kind of like that, it's clear that yes, people like Gears 4 and 5, but I feel like them being on Xbox One, those games didn't get the like they were not as big as they could have been, or they didn't hit as hard as they should have. So I feel like this was the right move to do for Gears, like appealing to the thing that made it big. And they already confirmed Gear 6, they'll eventually get back to that. But they felt like this was the right time, and I feel after a 5-year hiatus, you kind of needed that. Like, just pump the brakes there, because I saw way more excitement for Gears of War E-Day than I would have expected for a Gears of War return, and just be like, just Gear 6. It's like that was more effective than I was expecting, and that's how the showcase ended. Moving into the Black Ops 6 Direct, which I got to see it, and that's the thing. It's like showcase Call of Duty for 25 minutes. It's still at its core. It's still a campaign, a multiplayer. Then now you can sprint everywhere, and zombies going back to round base after how bad zombies was in Modern Warfare 3. I think that thing's gonna be big, and everything it is. At least it looks better. I know you mentioned kind of like the thing that I agree with you. One you mentioned is like, I want to see what a 4-year development cycle looks like for Call of Duty, because this is the longest this has been in dev. So that should theoretically be of benefit to them, and this needs to hit. So kind of like be like, Xbox under Microsoft. Look, it's doing great. Call of Duty under Microsoft. This is doing great. So that was a showcase. Eric, this was the best showcase Xbox has done, bar none. And the thing, my big thing is that last year, everyone was like, this is the best showcase that Xbox has done. I feel that terminology has been thrown a lot, that I can see a lot of people be like, you say that every year. Big difference is that it feels like the X is hatching now. They laid the X years before. We had been waiting. And the fact that we're finally starting to see more like the reality of everything that they have been building for so long. I buy more this is the strongest showcase that they have done. Especially like in this era, in the Xbox Series X and PS5 generation, the only showcase that I really, really loved of everyone was the PS5 reveal event. That was a shotgun blast of like exclusives for PlayStation that hit within the first 2 years, and they have not done anything like that since. And Xbox has been like, has always been the promise, the next year, the next year, the next year, the next year, the next year. It's always felt like that. But I feel the mix of games that they had, the surprising look of promises kind of like met, like with Fable, would be like, oh my god, so it might actually look like what we saw last year. Oh my god, Perfect Dark. It can be real. And it feels more ambitious than what it feels like. Gears of War back, appealing to like what made Gears like good. A healthy dose of games that are covered sprinkled is like them having a game like Expedition 33 was like, that was huge for me, because it's like, it's a new IP. It looks so unique. It's like a new IP that's both unique, not the kind of game you would expect outside of like maybe Japan or like a high school setting. It's like when you start like tallying all of that up, even with like the tiny miss of no release dates initially for Avowed or Indiana Jones, the middle lull of like, okay, here's an update for Fallout 76, here's your ESO update, here's everything, is like overall I'm still feeling pretty high about the showcase. In a way I haven't felt about it in a showcase in a while, and for vibes that I needed a strong Xbox vibe, I feel this nailed this. People calling it a 10 out of 10 is putting too much. I feel it's like I would love for everything that has been announced here to hit hard, so that everyone can like justify calling this the greatest showcase ever. Because to be fair, everyone said that last year, so just kind of like throwing it out there, just as a thing. So what do you think? Because I think you're also agreed, like, this is obviously the best showcase of the season, like no contest. Because they're the ones that not up for debate. Not for debate.
I saw. Do
you see Hope?
I think I saw. Do you see Hope say the Ubisoft one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's up for debate.
Yeah.
I think that I feel like you could say like I really don't like a large variety of games. I only really like these specific things and my personal. But like objectively, there's no debate that this is the best showcase of this season.
Yeah.
What I would say. I talked a little bit about it in the episode on our show or my show when you were on. The key to a good showcase is to have strong bookends, like really strong bookends, and a bunch of cool stuff in the middle.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this showcase was that it did have strong bookends, but all the stuff in the middle, or like a large portion of the stuff in the middle, they were all good enough to be strong bookends.
Yeah.
Doom could have been a bookend.
Yeah.
Like Dragon Age could have been a bookend. Expedition 33 could have been a bookend. South of Midnight, bookend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fable, bookend. Perfect Dark, bookend. Like I would say like 75% of the middle stuff was big enough to be bookends.
Yeah.
And these weren't, like you had mentioned, like you had thought that the PS5 reveal trailer was like super awesome, and I'm not saying it wasn't.
Yeah, the showcase, just the showcase, the one that revealed all like the games and the reveal of the console. So
yeah, what was the final bookend? It was a JPEG that said God of War Ragnarok.
No, that was the second showcase, because they did 2 that year. I'm talking about the June one. The second one was the one that had Final Fantasy.
Oh, where they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Project and Forspoken. Anyway.
Yeah, Project Atheon, the first one. Yeah, I'm talking about the June one, because the September one was like weaker. So I'm talking about the one that finally showed us the shape of the console in June. So
okay,
that was the one.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was good too. But like the thing about this one is that a lot of the cool stuff that was shown, like the big bookends that were shown, had gameplay too. Like. I seen someone say there's not a lot of gameplay here. Like
there's more gameplay here than you would expect. It's like obviously in like glimpses, but it's like Doom had all gameplay, like Perfect Dark had all gameplay, Expedition 33 had all gameplay. Life is Strange had all gameplay. Compulsion had like games besides the Midnight had all gameplay. You know what World of Warcraft is. Metal Gear had all gameplay. It's like there's more here than people give it credit for. Did it have a HUD? No.
There's more here than showcase.
Yeah, it's like it's still a showcase. It's like you have to be like very pedantic to try to point it to say that there was no gameplay here. There was more gameplay here than they have had in like a while. And like even looking back at even that PlayStation showcase, it's like it started like strong with gameplay early on in that showcase when it had Miles Morales, it had Gran Turismo 7, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Astro's Playroom. You could see like a game, and then the one that didn't have gameplay was Demon's Souls and Horizon Forbidden West. Like later, but everything else did have. This was similar, but the thing is that this is more exciting because we're mid-gen. That was launch time, so it's like this like initial wave. We're now in the mature era of like where a console should be. So in like balance, I'm more impressed with this. Even though kind of like the last time that I was impressed like that was all the way back there, which goes to show like the amazing step up that Microsoft has done like under Showcase game. Whereas like at a time where Xbox has been at their lowest, where it's like Xbox is done. The thing didn't sell more than 1 million units in the last quarter. They're putting the they're doing the multi-platform releases, which Phil Spencer confirmed that they're still gonna keep doing. I mean, Doom the Dark Ages is also multi-platform. Here's also the thing that I was noticing, kind of like putting myself as like looking at this as an Xbox fan that uses Game Pass. Who cares if the other guys get like multi-platform, or like what you get is like so rich? You get to save so much money. That's how I got to see it, and that I didn't get bothered at all by the fact that they have been like putting stuff in multi-platform. My buddy Paul watched this showcase. He called it the greatest showcase he's seen, and he's a big PlayStation show, and he's a big PlayStation guy. So that really tells me like, well, especially because I do Game Pass sharing with him. So he's like, my God, the amount of great looking games that I saw, how much money I'm gonna save on these. Holy crap! I'm like, that's where it really clicked me. I was like, I see an idea why. Despite like what it looked like in console, where it's like, man, you're giving your games to the opponent and all that, is like the ecosystem is Game Pass. If you're within Xbox, so it's like looking at that way is like that didn't really cross my mind when I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm gonna save so much money, and these games look awesome. So that's kind of like how I saw it, and that's why I know that when you can transcend the negativity cloud that the Xbox has had this entire year over like with how they're showing this, and also with the caveat that I still need for this X to hatch well or the planes to land at the end. That's always been something that I know we debated, like, are reviewers too biased and all that, but it's just kind of like in general vibes. It's like the positive vibes of before don't compare to the positive vibes after this. That's when I know that there's something different, that there's something in the air with like this recent showcase that is like, oh, so that's what it feels like. I know I saw I'm gonna send you a meme that someone sent me, but you can keep talking, like someone put it, and I think I kind of get why this hit different, because a lot of these games remind a lot of people of that glorious 360 era, like so often. And I'm gonna send you the meme.
So what I was like trying to, or what I was getting to, was that I agree with you that this is the best showcase that they've done, but I think that it's also the best showcase that anyone's ever done. I see, like, I hear you talk about how they have to land and stuff like that, and I've seen other people say similar things. I've seen some people say like kind of stupid things about how Xbox has never been able to release games, so how could we ever expect that that's not complete patently false?
People forget in 2021. That's what blows my mind is like
2001 people forgetting, like, so like they've been doing it for a long ass time. And I don't think that we have that standard for Sony too. Like everybody points to the showcase where they released or revealed Shenmue 3 in
2015. The 2015 showcase
was pretty bad. Like that game, but nobody uses that caveat of all these games have
the last Guardian, which was revealed there, that was like people did it. It was like it wasn't the universally loved thing that Shadow of the Colossus was. Final Fantasy VII Remake was great, but that was the one out of those three, and that was like the E3 of dreams to me. Like the better showcase was the one they did the year after, the one they did at the Shrine Auditorium with God of War revealed, that when like Kratos stepped out, it's like feed me, and everyone like cheer, and they had like the orchestra playing, and then they shotgun blast the entire slate of PlayStation 4 for the entirety of that generation. That was this get closer to that, and that was like 2016. So
yeah, and I would probably say, like, for me personally, I think that God of War reveal was, like, if I had to pick the best reveal from that show and this one,
yeah,
I
that
think
one.
that's probably the best. But the problem is, for me, in terms of putting that above it, is that they just run out of gas in the PlayStation 4. This just keeps going.
Yeah.
Every single thing was a first party exclusive, like, bookend style game, and the stuff that very, very few stuff that wasn't a first party game was awesome, like Expedition 33. I thought Fragpunk with the card mechanics looks like super cool.
Yeah, not for me, but I see it.
Yeah, Life is Strange, coming back to Max Caulfield, like a lot of people have, like, so, like, they very, very specifically curated awesome things. There's maybe a couple things that were low points for me, like the sad animal game, but, like, they also have pillars to hit. There's people that love cozy games that would look at that. So, like, I just think that both presentations had lots of quality. Xbox kept going. It just doesn't run. It just kept going. And the craziest thing, the fact that this is the best Xbox show of all time, and in my opinion, the best showcase ever of all time, there's so many things that they didn't do. They didn't reveal WoW on console. They didn't mention Halo at all. They didn't drop the Activision
Game Pass things that we had thought were gonna be there.
The back coming back never came to fruition. There's so many things, and then there's so many studios that we haven't heard from. And we'll get to it soon, but, like, all these dormant studios that we were guessing, none of them showed up. Well, there's not, like you had said when Sony had that showcase, that they unloaded the whole slate.
Yeah,
they blew their Xbox didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't.
They still have things in the chamber. That says a lot, because it's like, why are the strengths of this showcase? You kind of like nail it. It's like they rarely ran out of momentum, because that other showcase from 2016 and Sony's like they ended the show by playing the gameplay of Days Gone after they had revealed the show early. They revealed Days Gone early in the show, and then they did a demo at the very end. So we're like, wait, what?
And that was a long demo.
It was a long demo. It's like, and before that was Spider-Man. The what?
Was that the one with the flute guy too, with Ghost of Tsushima?
No, that was 2018. That was the 2018. That was one of the worst showcase conference that I see, because that's the one that had the intermission after they showed Last of Us.
I remember they got back, and Greg Miller was like, I don't know what to do here. Like, what are we talking? Have you ever seen the Konami E3 from the PS3? That's the worst one.
Yes.
So a lot of, anyway, back to Xbox. So I think it's the best they've done. I think it's the best anyone's ever done. Yeah. And to comment about what you were talking about with Game Pass, people talk about, like, some of these games that are coming to Game Pass Day 1 are also coming to PlayStation, and Xbox is putting games on PlayStation. Here's the literal reality. Okay, if you have both consoles, and like, games are coming out left, right, and center for everything, and so many things are coming to Game Pass. You literally, like, not you specifically, but most people, like, can't afford to buy every game that comes out.
Yep. Most
people can't afford to buy one game a month that comes out. So if your options are give Sony $70 that I don't have, or spend nothing extra from what I'm already paying for Game Pass, and I have the game, what platform is that game exclusive for to that person?
Boom.
It's exclusive to Xbox at that point, which is what a lot of people are finding themselves in, and what more and more people are going to find themselves in when they as these games start rolling out, because the quality and the quantity are just like you said, the eggs are hatching.
Yeah.
So yeah, Game Pass is the service. A few nitpicks that I would have. I think I got baited with WoW. One thing that I still stand by, I kind of predicted this, that didn't actually happen, is I think that they should have given the Call of Duty trailer that they opened with to the Game Awards.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers, like this stream was pretty impressive in that it had like 3.7 million views. So like, that's a lot of eyes to get on Call of Duty and get the message that it's coming day one to Game Pass out there. But Summer Gamesfest had over 7 million views.
It's still a bigger show. That's what's so funny. So
a bigger show because it's caters to a bigger audience. There's PlayStation fans will tune in, Nintendo fans will tune in, etc. So I think that getting that Call of Duty trailer at the Game Awards would give Jeff something to show at the end instead of Phantom Blade or whatever.
Yes.
But also they clearly have that they could have taken anything and used it as an opener. They could have just started with Doom and just cut that off front. And
literally, because it's like it's overindulgent. That's the problem of doing like that trailer and then doing that. And I've thought similar because they did something similar with Starfield last year, but it was kind of like in the middle late of that showcase where they popped like a quick trailer for Starfield, and obviously you knew that they were doing the direct, but it was like I know kind of like the idea is like, I know some people may just tune into the direct or will tune out after we move to the direct, so they kind of want to have it there. But especially for Call of Duty, it's Call of Duty. That's what, to me, that's what feels different for me, is like I don't feel like Call of Duty deserves kind of like the overindulgent treatment, especially when one of the bigger PR like things of this year was like them acquiring ABK and like them potentially closing studios because they're not generating revenue that, you know, ABK stuff kind of like rings in. So it's like I know that can create like mixed messaging when you're like overindulging Call of Duty too much, especially when you know what it is. It doesn't need any help in the slightest. So I agree with that, especially because Xbox had nothing over at the SGF. So it's like they didn't throw a single bone to Jeff this year. So
yeah.
But
and I think getting people to know that Call of Duty is owned by Xbox, it's coming to Game Pass day one. I think getting that message out there is super important.
Yeah, especially on as big a broad as that can be. But other than that, it's like, it's almost like it's very like the fact that you can nitpick this showcase just tells you a lot how this had no Wonderbook moment, no like interruptions, like the lulls are expected. So it's like the exact same lulls from 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 were here. To me, every time Sea of Thieves shows up here, it's a lull. Every time Fallout 76 shows up, it's also a lull. Like anytime any of those live service games from like Bethesda show up here, I'm like, yeah, it's like this is the time where I'm like, hey, cool, moving on. I would say the way Ubisoft handled that in their UB4 was actually pretty brilliant. Do you see how many live service they had? They just kind of like blast through like clear as like, season here, coming here, coming this, and moving to there, and season here, coming here. I'm like, honestly, do that, Xbox, because it's like the people that care give the broadest of strokes of like, yeah, new content coming here, and then they will go on their own communities that they're already in. They'll find out that information. You don't need to kind of like hog at time, especially because you have already you have the goods. You don't really need to pad that out. That's like the only thing.
I think the Sea of Thieves trailer was pretty short though.
Yeah,
and Fallout was a bit long, but at the same time, I think playable ghouls was kind of a big pop because that's something the Fallout community has wanted since
forever.
And the Fallout community is blowing up right now.
Yeah,
so I think that was a calculated thing, but I do agree with the sentiment that
yeah, I know. Like my buddy that was watching it with me, like he got bored of the Diablo trailer. I'm like, you don't know Blizzard, though. He was like, long cinematic trailers are like your thing. I remember
it was like half the original reveal. I think it's double the length of what they had.
Yeah, it's like that's just how they do it. So I'm like, but then when I saw the Ubisoft one, I'm like, yeah, they actually handled that like surprisingly well, like considering how many live services kind of like they updated. So yeah, but and then Ubisoft really had nothing. That's kind of like my big problem with that one. Like, just kind of like moving on from the Xbox showcase, which we will agree was really strong. Easy King, no contest.
Yeah, we could probably just sprint through the Ubisoft one. I thought I talked about it in the channel too because we were like live chatting about it. I thought it was actually awesome. I was talking about how awesome it is that they support their games this way because they opened with talking about updates to ongoing games, and I thought the updates they showed were strong, but then they just didn't have like a real reveal to kind of back that up. I mean, if you want to go through them, you can, and we'll take like
it's like super quick because it started with the big demo for Star Wars Outlaws. Is like that is my most anticipated game of the year because it was my second one behind Rebirth. Rebirth's already done for me, so it's like that was like next in my list, and getting to see that was like, oh yeah, Star Wars Outlaws. Yes, it's like to me, I see Outlaws the same way I see Fable. When I saw Star Wars Outlaws last year, it was awesome, but I was like, I know the bullshit. I know kind of like the promises of seeing. Yes. So I was like, I need you to prove me that what I saw was not a lie. And then and then the demo they did was like, oh, it was not a lie. It was like, it was almost the exact same thing as last year, and this thing is 3 months out. So it's like, it is a real game. Oh my god, this looks awesome. So that hit. Prince of Persia had like a couple announcements. I think they announced the new update for X-Defiant before that, but then like Prince of Persia was like, new updates for Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, one of the best games this year. It was the best first game of the year. They added. They said that the new updates, I think, is available now, and the expansion's coming out later. I think in September. Rogue Prince of Persia, they added like a new update. I think that's still just on Steam. They didn't say anything about console. And the one that made me laugh, I think you also laughed, was the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake. Got like a significant delay to 2026, but I saw that more as a, hey, this thing's still alive, because they had not said anything since it got indefinitely delayed from January 2021. And then they said that Montreal, the studio that originally made that game, was taking the project on. And I know Toronto announced this past week in particular, they announced, hey, we're working on Prince of Persia. We're working with Montreal. So that's why I was like,
they're doing Splinter Cell.
They announced that they were working on Splinter Cell too. So it's like, Ubisoft is usually big enough that they do a lot of projects within like their own teams. Yeah. So I'm still of the mind that I think Splinter Cell is still working, because there's huge gameplay, Splinter Cell gameplay in Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was the thing that ended the show. Like the shutting, like killing someone behind the door, like that's like straight up Chaos Theory, like blowing like the candles, the meter. I was like, oh gosh, this is Splinter Cell. I was like, I know that these are gonna be the systems that remake will have whenever eventually that thing reveals. But before the Shadows was they announced something else for the Crew Motorfest, and they did like the quick they did a new update for Anno, like their strategy building game, which I know a lot of people were like are pretty big on. And then like a million updates to their live service games, like for The Division 2, Brawlhalla, and all of those. So like if you know which one it is, it is. And then it ended with the Assassin's Creed Shadows demo, which I also agree with you, the Bitstream was not doing it great favors. There was the moment in the live stream that it was like the bitrate of the resolution of like how the quality of the stream was like really smudging the visual. Like I finally got to see the full 4K version of this, and I'm like, yes, I can see the next evolution visually for Assassin's Creed. I can actually, the faces look so much better now. So it's like, and then getting to see the completely different gameplay styles from both Yasuke and Naoya. And I'm gonna be a Naoya stan. I'm gonna play with her like as much as that game allows me to do. I just love how they did stealth. It's like this felt like Assassin's Creed Shadows finally embracing more of a stealth mechanics, which they've been like slowly. It's like they could finally crawl in grass. You couldn't do that before. Before it was just like getting to crouch in Origins was like a big deal. Which also kind of started with Syndicate before that. The Night and Shadow mechanic, the nimbleness of like the movement and like the combat is like Shadows had a strong showing, and like the two big games had strong shows basically. Like Ubisoft has a strong 2024 ahead of them. Big disappointment that then nothing new was announced other than just Prince of Persia being told, oh yeah, seek it in 2026. I'm like, so 2025 is your SOL? You're gonna be gone? Like, I know, yeah, you got Skull and Bones. Sorry, Hogue, I know that you love that game. I didn't. I gave it a 6. They got a new update for that, so it's like, yeah, it's like, is that what 2025 is gonna be for you? Oh yeah, an Avatar, the Avatar DLC, which I got. Cool. Yeah, it looks cool. I have it. I already had the DLC because I was given the deluxe edition code when I did the review. So I'm like, I'll play it. I like the Avatar enough. Maybe I'll have enough time late July. This July is actually pretty packed already. But it's like, yeah, Ubisoft delivered on showing great showings for their games for this year. I don't know, like, are they gonna do another UB4? I know they used to do couple UB4 words. Like sometimes I'm like, will one later this year be the thing that tells us what they have for 2025? Should we expect nothing from them in 2025? So that was the kind of thing that held me back on their showcase, because I'm like, I was hoping you were gonna at least tease us something new, because it feels like you're running out of stuff.
Like, yeah, for me, I'm not super high on it. I both Outlaws and Shadows are games that are kind of filed under the I already know I want to play this. I don't really need to see much more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of disheartening that probably half of the showcase was those two games.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the Assassin's Creed demo, I thought was a bit too long.
Mm-hmm.
I actually came away thinking that the like melee combat with Yasuke was kind of the coolest part.
Oh, really?
Because it looked way more like visceral than past games. And I had commented in our chat that I don't think that there's been an assassin that's been this vicious.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Connor.
Oh, yes.
And Connor's combat, like actual combat, I think Connor was the most fun to play as in all of the games leading up to Shadows.
Especially with the axe, when you had like the tomahawk axe, and there's just like chain kill everything, was like always fun in 3.
Yeah, he was a beast. Now I just couldn't get over how flat the performance was from the voice actress. But anyway, I wanted to see something else. I mean, maybe they'll have another one. I mean, you could make the argument that they punted here just like Sony punted, and you could say that maybe Sony's gonna do like a PS5 Pro reveal in the fall, show a bunch of cool stuff, and then maybe Ubisoft's gonna be a huge supporter of that, and maybe they're saving their new stuff because they want to showcase it as PS5 Pro game, or like a PS5 Pro version of the game. I know like
Conjecture
EA did that with the PS4 Pro. They waited to hold. They held Mass Effect Andromeda to show that with that, and I know Ubisoft showcased the Ezio trilogy on PS4 Pro as being like 4K here. So maybe that's a thing. I think that's a mistake if it is true, and I also think it's kind of far-fetched in general.
And just conjecture, and we never know what to expect from Sony. We talked about it. It's like everyone is expecting a PS5 Pro reveal event, and I'm like, I've learned from Sony to never know what to expect from them. Like, they don't do anything by the book. Like, they just like to talk whenever the hell they want to talk. So it's like, I'm not if they had to like delay stuff and hurt their own shows, because we're currently in the here and now, and in the here and now, Ubisoft just reconfirmed that their 2 games that they have here have the potential to be really strong, and then nothing else, and that's pretty bad. So it's like, and it's very hard to like think.
Although I would argue it's worse for Sony because Ubisoft's not a platform holder.
Yeah.
Ubisoft is a publisher, and people are just going to buy their games when they come out. Nobody is really looking at Ubisoft and being like, oh, I really want to know what the future of this company is because I'm invested in. Maybe if you're a Uplay Plus subscriber, you definitely would be feeling that, which they are clearly marketing. Because if you
at the end of the showcase,
if you watch it, the final reveal was actually a trailer for Ubisoft Plus, which I obviously
it's so funny. Yeah,
a huge mistake. In terms of PS5 Pro, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent about it, but I think that there's too much smoke for there to not be fire. But maybe they like assumed Xbox was going to do it, and when Xbox was kind of lukewarm on the idea of it, or kind of borderline saying they're not going to do a mid-gen refresh, maybe Sony pulled the plug because it's obviously an expensive proposition, and Sony's not a challenger brand. They're not a brand that is trying to fight. They're just a brand that is comfortable being in first place, and they're not really going to do much to rock the boat or take risks or do anything crazy. Which, in my opinion, as someone who's a hardcore like video game fan, I think that's boring. But it's also probably smart.
Yeah, it's like
but we'll see.
Yeah, it's like I always keep saying, it's like, to me, the thing that sucks the most is that they keep getting rewarded for their attitude. Like, they keep getting rewarded for not showing up. And it's like taking a lot of their audience usually always for granted, to the point where they take their audiences so for granted that the fact that they speak 3 times a year always feels like they're not speaking, even though they are. But that's what they're being in Ivory Tower and playing like Suri's Free feels, even though that's not like their reality of when they actually speak. And and I'm like,
I do think it's turning though.
Yeah.
I do think it's turning slowly. I remember, like, we had both said several times that we thought last year's Xbox showcase was the best that they've done at that point. And I remember like things that are more that usually lean more to PlayStation, like the Keeley polls. I think I'm not saying Jeff does, but his polls usually lean. They were giving it like a B. And like the C grade was also pretty high. Yeah. And like kind of funny. I think it's very obvious they lean PlayStation.
Yes. And they didn't like they did not like the showcase last year for PlayStation. They were like 2 out of 5s and all that. So
and for Xbox they were for Xbox they were only like 7s, I think, across the board. Maybe it's 6 or 7, 7.5, 8, like 8. Like they were in that range. the Keeley poll for Xbox this year was an A majority. It was like 80%.
And do you hear what kind of funny they gave those the Xbox Showcase? Everyone at 10.
Yeah, was a 10. Yeah, I think Blessing was a 9.5, and it kind of looked like he painfully had to admit that. But yeah, they scored it really, really high. So
a lot. And the best
that's
part,
a small thing, but it feels like the tide's changing in terms of the Xbox's like general perception.
No, and the best part, seeing a lot of the PlayStation like accounts that sometimes pop up on my stupid FYP page, all being like, "We need that new showcase ASAP." I'm like, "Thank you," because it's like that's when if you were all good and all that, you wouldn't feel threatened. Now you see this showcase that we just saw of Xbox, now you feel the threat. Even despite the fact that Sony's like comfortably like selling no problem. You get your Astro out in September and your Lego Horizon game at the very end of the year, and they're giving you Silent Hill 2 exclusives. So it's like the fact, and also Conquered, but it's like the fact that now you're starting to feel the heat. I'm like, yes, this is what I've been saying. It's like, I hate comfortable PlayStation. I hate that. Especially as one that mains in that system more than I do Xbox, because it's like whenever they feel the threat, I feel they fight for my enjoyment, and when they fight for my enjoyment, that's when they give me all the like the cool stuff. Because by the time that that 2016 PS4 showcase happened, when they revealed basically the entire slate, Xbox was still in fighting shape because Xbox was actually releasing stuff, they were announcing stuff, and it was after that everything kind of like started like it started becoming a little bit more lopsided. So it's like, I remember what a fighting PlayStation felt like, to the point that they stopped feeling the fight where they pull out of E3 entirely. So it's like, I want them, especially now that under the new CEOs. I'm glad that everyone's noticing like the positive momentum of Xbox right now. This is what I have been wanting. This is the momentum that they should have never lost after 2021. This feel like in the perfect year, 2021 happened, and this is kind of like the showcase we got in 2022, and everything was kind of close. You just imagine like what the vibes would have been had 2022 not happened, or like how it ended up happening for them. And then at 2023, where they had the goods, but a disastrous launch of Redfall and a Starfield launch that was not the king that was promised, kind of like did like lower the like kind of like what they thought of this of the system, despite Hi-Fi Rush being so excellent. And you reviewed Minecraft, like Minecraft being enjoyable, and I know Forza was like seen as a disappointment because it felt like more threadbare compared to previous Forza releases. It just felt like they had the goods, but they didn't move needles last year. So it's like they were still like walking like poor momentum. Not to mention everything that happened earlier this year with the whole will Xbox even exist with multi-platform and all that. So it's like I feel they recovered a 3-year momentum they lost right now, and now the eggs have to hatch, they have to hit, and I'm like, yes, finally, it's not just 2 systems that are doing great, it's 3. That's what we want. It's that's like excellent work, Xbox, and also Ubisoft. I'm excited for your 2 games, but what the hell? Give us more. And then Jeff, I feel bad for you. No one wanted to give you content. That's basically what happened with him. So they had to rely on indies and be like, yeah, indies are feeding me now. That's basically the showcase. And then all the tiny ones were good. It's just too many stuff that we're not gonna cover through this. Especially when
enjoy it though.
Yes, it's still enjoyable.
He saved it too, because if Jeff wasn't doing this stuff, like it would be so much worse.
Oh yeah,
E3 just like died.
Dead. Yeah, which is so sad to think. Like the E3 officially died last December, so it's like when a lot of people are like, we miss E3. That's when you know that the vibes are not 100% there. But I'm glad that this Xbox showcase in particular reminded me the most of the E3 of old. Like, it felt good. It was like Did you see the meme that I showed you? I posted it in your message. It was so funny. I'm gonna like overlay it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Ratatouille one.
You could literally make the same meme though with Sony and Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I know, but it's so funny. But I feel that's why a lot of people were so receptive, because they had that plus more. They were reminded of the golden era. But it's not just that. It's not just nostalgia member berries. They have that
and more. The cool thing
too
about this is that these are not like sequels. Mostly Fable, Perfect Dark, and Gears are totally changing it. It's not. It's a little bit more exciting. Yeah. If it was Fable 4,
Perfect Dark 3,
4, Gears 6, then it wouldn't be as. I wouldn't be as excited. I'd still be excited, but
because it will feel more of the same. But you know that they're fresh looks, similar to what God of War 2018 was following that trilogy. So
yeah, and if God of War 2018 was like God of War 5,
I wouldn't
then
have
it
been as
wouldn't have been as
excited.
good.
Yeah, the fact that they
And I think
changed it
that's
so
one of the best
much, yeah,
development.
the fact that they changed it as much is the reason why that thing hit and why God of War is relevant now. And I feel this is like it has the Xbox has that opportunity to revive a bunch of those IPs that have been dormant and re-relevant now. So that's why I'm like, that's what makes me so excited, because now I feel like there's gonna be pressure. I'm hoping that pressure is reflected on. I know Xbox says that they don't matter. I still say that they do matter. If they didn't matter, they wouldn't still invest in hardware. It's just PR speak. I'm hoping we see like Xbox momentum be like re-picked up. Like I really want that. It's like they can PR their way, but that still matters a lot, because it's like they cannot let PlayStation just like dominate like this. Whereas like they're gonna give like Xbox gonna give games to PlayStation, but then PlayStation's not gonna bother to give them Horizon. It's like that just tells you everything. so
They're gonna
like,
spend money specifically to not release this game on the Lego game on Xbox, even though they're putting it on Nintendo.
Exactly. So that's
pettiest thing I ever.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that was like the double punch of seeing that, and then the poor thing happening with Wukong. Is like, I cannot believe that they're going through Baldur's Gate 3 problem again about optimization problems. Like, or that's the excuse, but we know it's the Series S. But then doing more hardware, like I know Phil Spencer basically confirmed to McCaffrey that the handheld's happening. So they just kind of
dedicated, not cloud.
Yeah, so I'm like, he's saying it without saying it. They did the right choice of focusing on the games, because that has been the thing. Like, the Xbox Series X is a great console. Game Pass has been a great service. As consistent caliber of games has been the missing piece, and now they have it. And now
I wonder if XO will come back, because like I don't know, like unless it's going to be something that's announced at E3 next year, I don't know if there's another time that makes sense to reveal a handheld, unless it's maybe a Game Awards. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's precedent with Series X was revealed there. So now Eric, you take the reign, because we did some bets and we have to hear the tallies. You can read you can like read them and say like what I said and what you said. So
yeah. So just a recap, like the way that we did the predictions, you can check out Game Positive, the podcast, if you want to listen to it live. All of this is going to spoil all of that. Instead of just saying, "Oh, I think this will happen, I think that will happen," we created some cool questions to kind of make it a little bit more interesting, and we're going to tally up how many correct answers that we got and see who did the best. I will say that we both suck, and we both got most of these wrong. And we got a lot of work to do if we want to do this again next year. I will also say that I didn't specify any rules about half points. I think in the future there definitely will be half points. In terms of this tally, I will let the audience decide if half points will be a thing or not. And I'll explain why I think some of mine might justify a half point. But let's just get to the results here. So we'll start with there'll be a total score for both combined, but the first set of questions is specific to the Summer Gamesfest. So first question was, will first parties show up and with what? And we broke it down with the 3 categories. For Sony, we both said that they would show up. We both got that wrong, or both got. Sorry, we said they would show up. You said they would show up with Astrobot, and I said they'd show up with Death Stranding. Both of those were wrong.
Yeah, Astrobot was like no show in that showcase.
Yeah. So in that case, maybe we could have got a half a point, because they technically did show up with Horizon Lego, but we just got the games wrong. Nintendo, we both said they would not show up, and we were both correct.
Yes.
So that's 1 point each. For Xbox, we both said they would show up. You said with Perfect Dark, and I said with Flight Sim.
None.
Both were incorrect. Next question was, will there be a tune-in for more than another showcase moment? You said that would happen, and it would be Star Wars, which was correct. So yes. 2-1, Alex. I said it would happen, and it would be Dragon Age, which did not happen. Next question was, what would the biggest pop be at the Summer Games Fest? You said Kojima, and I said Dragon Age. Both of those things did not even happen, let alone...
Incredible. Kojima didn't show up at all.
Well, he probably saw the slate and was like, call me next year. Anyway, next question was another Kojima question. Where in the world is Kojima? You said he'd be at the award show in person, which was incorrect. I said he would be at the award show in a video format. also incorrect.
Mm.
Next question was, will there be a movie or TV show trailer? You said yes, Sonic 3.
Yes.
I said yes, Borderlands.
And we were both wrong.
And there was no movie or show trailer at all.
I was shocked I was shocked that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer was not there at all. I was legit shocked, especially when they had the Sonic and Shadow game there. I was like, that felt like an easy layup. So.
Yeah. Bonus question, which was going to be worth double points. What's your dream reveal? If your dream reveal showed up, I was going to give you some extra points. You said Mass Effect did not show up. I said Resident Evil 9 did not show up.
Which, by the way, like, what the frick, Capcom? They sent, like, cards to, like, Maximilian Dude and all that to be like, tune in! That's why I said that, like, I believed yours was you were gonna get that, because they mentioned being like, hey, yeah, tune in, we're gonna have stuff, and the only thing they had was date for Path of the Goddess and more Monster Hunter. I'm like, why are you making a big deal about things that you already showed like a week before in the state of play? So
I think Monster Hunter is pretty big for them. But anyway, yes. So final tally at the end of Summer Gamesfest is 2-1, Alex. Pretty pitiful for both, I would say, but you do have the lead. Xbox Showcase, question 1. Which seemingly dormant announcement from shows past will make its triumphant return? This was a multiple choice question. You said C, Everwild. Everwild was not there in any way, shape, or form.
Everwild is dead. I don't believe it's alive now.
I said the two most likely games to show would be, I'll just say the options. There was Perfect Dark, State of Decay, Everwild, Contraband, and Outer Worlds 2. I said the two ones that would be the most likely would be State of Decay 3 and Perfect Dark, and I landed on Perfect Dark. Both games were there, so I get a point for that. 2-2. Which seemingly dormant studio will make its return, like studio in general? Options were 343 Industries, Double Fine, ZeniMax Online, or Blizzard Team 1, which is their Warcraft RTS, StarCraft Heroes of Storm team. I will say too, in the future, I think I'll make an option to be like none, because we in this case none of these showed up, and we both got them wrong. You said it would be Double Fine. I said it would be ZeniMax Online. Next question was, will we see a hardware announcement, and what would it be? We both said yes, which I think should be a half point. But you said handheld, which didn't show up. I said new controller, which didn't show up. Although I did talk about the discless Xbox, and I said I didn't want it to show up, so I wasn't going to say it, and it did in fact
out of principle.
Yeah, so I could have gotten a free point there, but anyway, it's still 2-2. Next question was the more probable than not series, where it was kind of like a or B question. More probable than not, will we see the return of back compat with ABK titles, like the old Spider-Mans and stuff like that? Or would we see a first-party remaster or remake announced? You said there'd be back compat games. I said there'd be a first-party remaster or remake announced. Both didn't happen, although Age of Mythology is a first-party remaster. It just had already been announced.
Yeah.
That's why I could argue for a half point. I wouldn't push that one though.
Yeah, I mean either, especially because we were specifically with like a new one, like has not been announced.
Yeah, so. I was talking about Fallout and stuff like that, or Oblivion, which didn't happen. Next question, more probable than not, will a major Japanese publisher announce a new game on the Xbox stage? Or will a formerly PC-only title make its way to console, or vice versa? You said a Japanese publisher would announce a new game on the Xbox stage. I remember talking about this and saying the only publisher I think could possibly show it would be Konami, which was true, but that wasn't my answer, and that wasn't even the question. So I just wanted to throw that out there so that everyone doesn't think that we're all just completely wrong all the time. But
that's what's so funny. We could have had so many, and we just went like the complete opposite directions for like spies, and we ended up lost.
Yeah. I said that there would be a formerly a PC only title would make its way to console and vice versa.
Dude, right.
Technically, it did happen with Valorant. I even said specifically that it would be Valorant, but it happened at Summer Gamesfest. I would argue that should be half a point. Also, a PC only title did make its way to console at this showcase with Age of Mythology again, but also again it was already previously announced. So there's my other case for a half point. But still,
the next one we do, we're absolutely gonna get the half points going, because like there's enough there for like a wiggle room. But that was not.
Well, we'll let might still be half points for this one. We'll let the
Yeah.
you need to comment or in the YouTube or on Twitter if you think I deserve any half points here, because it would make a big difference. Trust
Or
me.
at the chaotic clan, because I post my episodes over there. Like we have a dedicated X button or our clan chat. So,
Yes.
So
please.
They can be the ones that determine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vote yes for half points, please. Yeah. It will make a, trust me, it's going to make a big difference. Where am I? Okay. Last question in the more probable than not series. What's more likely, a new acquisition, a new partnership, or Xbox Game Studio publishing like an exclusive? You said XGS publishing an exclusive. I actually checked. All of the third-party games they announced are not published by Xbox Game Studio. And I said there'd be a new partnership. I specifically talked about perhaps a partnership with like Meta, with the Meta Quest. None of that happened. And there also was a new acquisition. So I think a none of these things happening option for next year would be
Which,
better.
thank God, no acquisition. Though, I believe stronger than ever, likelihood that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos get folded. They're both helping with their first parties. It's like if anything, yeah, it's like I can kind of see it, especially like getting them out of Embracer would be like a good one, especially if those games hit. So
yeah, the next set of questions were worth double points, so it's super exciting. Shadow drops. We said, will there be a shadow drop? You said yes, and it would be the Marcus Phoenix collection, which did not happen.
I'm so salty about that. Salty about that it didn't happen. I wanted it.
I said yes, it would be Starfield DLC, the Shattered Space, but then you said that they said it wasn't coming till the fall. And I changed my mind to Silk Song, but they did reveal Shadow Drop. The only thing that was Shadow Drop was DLC for Starfield, but it wasn't Shattered Space.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have been another that would have been another half point if that happened.
I would say so, but I technically said Silk Song after you convinced me.
I didn't want to commit. I was just trying to help you because of the information that was out there. Because you were wanted to, you had not seen the interview when Todd Howard was like, that's coming in the fall. So that's why I was like, no, it's like you have better chance, dude. Like
so
no Silk Song again,
and Silk Song doesn't exist anymore. What was going to be the opener? We both said Gears. We were both wrong. It was Call of Duty. Show closer, you said it'd be Fable, which was incorrect. I said it would be Doom, which was also incorrect. Although Doom was kind of the show opener,
starter,
and Gears was the closer. So I kind of got that a little bit mixed up.
Just flip.
Biggest pop. You said it would be Doom, which technically did show up in the showcase. I said it would be Fallout 3, which didn't show up at all, but we both kind of agreed that
Gears was Gears. It was Gears. In fact, it was such a Gears was such a pop that I feel people forgot Doom was even there. Like every time that I listened to it, because it was just at the beginning, that's how strong everything was that came after Doom. As amazing as Doom looked, that is like, I even went to see the metrics. More people are watching the Gears trailer. That's how I know that's a bigger pop. So
yeah, I saw a video where a Gears creator, he is a Gears of War creator, mind you, but he was in tears. Actually, I saw a couple people cry when Dom showed up. But anyway, so yeah, that was the last question, which was going to be worth double points as well, was the bonus dream reveal. I said Halo showing up in any way, shape, or form. Did not happen. You said KOTOR showing up with Xbox kind of saving it from the downward spiral that it feels like it's in. That also did not happen. So with the 15 questions that we asked, both of us have only 2 points if there's no
there's no half points,
which is pretty pathetic. I think that we had to do better next time. But there was a lot of stuff in the discussion that we talked about that did happen. We just picked we picked
wrong. We picked the wrong horses out of trying to make it spicier. That's what makes it funnier.
Yeah, we're not completely clueless, but we did fail pretty bad here.
To me, yes, and to me, especially hearing that some of the things that could have been easy layups for Xbox, me thinking about those is we need all those wins. The fact that the showcase was that strong without needing that says everything. Reading those from those choices, I'm like, that's how I know that it's they didn't even need those things that could have been big wins that we argued were gonna be the big wins in your episode. That's what's so funny. So
all
that's when
those
I know.
studios that are dormant that we say we're going to make a return, like none of them did, and it was still the best showcase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great vibes, and I can't wait. And I can't wait for the next time we do that again. Whether it's I know they do. It's not. I think it's just for the big showcases that is worth doing it. So.
Game Awards is so random. It's so hard to predict anything.
Though if PlayStation does do a showcase, according to many people are still inhaling the copium that there is one in September because of PS5 Pro. Like that could be another one.
If they call it a showcase, I will.
It has to be showcase. It has to have the name showcase. So if it's just state of play, nope. So that was a fun one. I can't wait to do that again with you. That was like that was an interesting one, and then I can't wait to like post this episode and the link for our Discord for my chaotic Discord, and I'll let them say like, should half points be allowed? Should not? Like,
all I need is one of all the things I thought could maybe give me a half point. I just need one of them to be true. I think the Valorant one was a pretty. I think that's anyway.
Yeah, that was like that was like such a perfect 1 point, and it just had to happen in the other showcase. So
getting Jeff Keighley, man.
So that was the summer showcase season, and now we wait for Nintendo. That the rumor is June 18th is when the next direct is. So not fully or officially confirmed, but usually when I hear the people that mention those rumors, I believe them more and more now. I feel like there's more people in the know, and because it's not first party that's carrying Nintendo right now and they're doing partners, I think more people will know. So
what remake you think we'll see? Because they're going to show that's all they got.
Here's the thing. I know one. We can't say it. We cannot say it live. Ain't told me, so.
Oh, yeah. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about like first party Nintendo.
In first party Nintendo, I'm hoping against everything, and this has become a meme of this show since I restarted it. Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. One of those two. I know they have them. They're the final things from the Wii U that have not been ported over. Every other goddamn Zelda game is in the Switch. It's like the missing links. So it's like
I agree. I 100% agree, but I will also say that I think it would be the craziest thing they could do would be Eternal Darkness.
Oh, dude, I would pop so hard for Eternal Darkness. It's like my big thing with that one is like because that was Silicon Knights, the guys that made 2 Human that worked on that game. Is like I don't know what the legalities of that game is, or kind of like what Nintendo has or can do, or what they ever did. Because
I would assume Nintendo's contract was, we own all this shit. You can't do anything.
I would hope. And then they just find like a random team that they are not going to credit to do it. Kind of like they did the Mario RPG thing, where they did.
Well, it would be pretty much a port, right? It wouldn't be a remake. And they would still sell for full price, and I think that would pop.
And the thing is that they did that with Pikmin 1 and 2 is like a very low effort, like remaster, like just port of those, and they sold because that's where they are. That's how big Nintendo is. But my pipe in the strike is those Zelda games, because like there's something. I love the idea of like a modern Nintendo system having the history like all together in one. Like it's like,
and I heard some pretty credible rumors that Twilight Princess is coming.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like.
There's also the rest of the Metroid Prime trilogy.
2 and 3. So, and I definitely like. All right, we're gonna talk off screen about the one that Ian told me, because he told me like when I had him in the show like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever long that was, he got an email for that game. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, oh, okay. So that's when he told me the late, like now I believe this Nintendo. This Nintendo Direct could be like in the 18th, because his embargo is for that time. So I'm like, that sounds like the kind of game that Nintendo would announce. So I'll talk to you. I talk to you.
I'm 99% sure I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So all right, and so that was all the showcases, and now I'm gonna read us the releases for the week of June 16th to June 22. It's just a few games, but. So we got #Blood, BLUD, coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on June 18th. We got Still Wakes the Deep coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC for June 18th. That's kind of like the survival horror, and also Game Pass, right? So that's the one that's like you go underwater. There's like at an oil rig, right? Yes. What wasn't it a Quantic Dream doing that one? I could be like.
I don't think it's Quantic Dream, but I remember. Maybe they published it. I'm not sure. but I remember Xbox Era doing a preview for it.
Yeah.
With Sicka Mechanica, and he really liked it. So
Yes, and
high hope.
Yeah, and it's made by the Chinese Room, which is the guys that made Everybody's Up to the Rapture and another classic game that I forget.
I think they did a what's that? Amnesia.
Yeah, I think because I remember when Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was announced, they were like, "Is it Chinese Room?" I was like, "Oh, it's these guys." I'm like, oh, "Okay, cool." I remember that was the talk then. We got Dice Folk coming to Switch on June 20th. We got Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 coming to PlayStation VR 2 on June 20th. Finally, PSVR gets something. We got Dystopica coming to PC on June 21st, and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree coming to everything, PS5, Series X, PS4, Xbox One, and PC on June 21st. Poor are these other things, like nothing matters. It's Elden Ring. It's gonna be Elden Ring's week. Which, if you're interested to play this Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, make sure you go kill Mog, the God of Blood. Go kill him, and put your save there. If you have not killed him, you're not gonna have access to this. And also know that there is a secret to killing him. You have to go find some drink that is not gonna that's gonna help you with blood loss, because if not, you're not gonna be able to kill him. So, yep, those are the the releases for the week of June 16 to June 22, and that brings us to the end of this show. Eric, I want to thank you so much for joining me this week as we complete our first crossover. The first of many, I would hope, as you return to podcasting and I continue podcasting as I wait for my buddy Paul to finish his paternity leave, as his baby Emrys is now growing, and he understands how he can do both gaming stuff and parent stuff. You already know that. So tell people where they can tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at GamePositiveYT. You can find me on YouTube if you want to check out my content at game.positive. Also, it's on all major podcast platforms. I do a kind of a general gaming podcast. I will say that I am slightly Xbox leaning, but I do have and love all platforms. I am going to be bringing back my interview show called Insert Coin, where I talk to a guest about their life with video games, within each quarter of their life, which is interesting. I'd love to have Alex on if he's willing. You can check out my previous episode with Alex, where we kind of talked about this, although it's kind of pointless at this point since it's all in the past. But yeah, check it out, or keep an eye out for some new content. I just posted a guide for getting Creation Kit working if you're interested in that at all. Very quick video, but yeah, feel free.
Yeah,
love to chat more.
Absolutely. Looking forward to eventually doing that at quarter one, whenever you bring it back and schedules align. And you can find me at _Segovia on Twitter/X. You can find me at Alejandro_Segovia93 on Instagram/Threads. And then you can find my current written content over at seasongaming.com, where you can read this year's reviews for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Skull and Bones, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy XVI The Rising Tide, TMNT Mutant Arcade, Stellar Blade. Paper Mario was supposed to be the next review, and I got derailed. So I don't know if I still do. I'll see if I can still finish it. But damn it, Destiny, damn it. So it happens. So, but yeah, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of the X-Bond. And if you like what you listen or watch, let us know. Leave a review, leave a comment in your podcast service of your choice, and go listen to Eric's episode, as he returns to the world of podcasting. And then and until then, get ready now that we're past showcase season. Now we're entered the post-gaming depression. Thankfully, there's many games coming so soon. Unlike before, where E3 season would come, then you have to wait all the way until the fall, and there was nothing to do this summer. Thankfully, times are different. Times are changing. And until then, go play some games and press X to play. See y'all later.
See you later.